Good afternoon, all, and welcome to another edition of the Sal Greco Show. And I'm your host, Sal Greco. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope everybody had a good Labor Day as well. There's a lot to get to with that. But before all of that, if you could, please, if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like, share, subscribe button, hit the notification bell as well. If you can, if you're watching on Rumble, please hit that like button, hit that Rumble button. And if you're watching us on X right now, live streaming on that platform, please hit that like button and share this out with all your friends and many that you believe are in that low information bubble, because they really need to come up to speed, especially in New York City. But the show today is going to be themed around New York City and the chaos that's in there. And there's a lot going on. So we all know what yesterday and this weekend was about, and that's Juve. Juve, as many have coined in the past, Billy Coy Pegues, Eric Dim have coined Juve the Super Bowl of policing. It is the Super Bowl. It's 3 days of complete chaos out there. As you can see, some of it, I'll say the majority of it is pretty good, but it doesn't mean that, how can I say this? It doesn't mean that all of it is good, because there's a lot of violence that occurs. And I've been around. I used to work in the 71st precinct. So I could tell you, Crown Heights, as a police officer, it's like the worst feeling, because you never know what can happen. So over the years, this parade has varied over incidents that occurred. It's always violent. There's always like violence that happens, and that's because bad actors can infiltrate anything. So not to pick on just the Super Bowl of policing, but any parade, any festival, you'll see bad actors always, because there's always going to be one or two rotten apples. So before that, though, as the backdrop now, as you understand it, those of you not in New York City, Juve, it's in Brooklyn, it's in Crown Heights, it's in between the 67th precinct and the 71st precinct. Two hotbeds for it's a mixed community. There's a lot going on there. So this is, once again, the Super Bowl of policing. A lot of personnel's there, a ton of police to try to keep this peace, right? And to police the parade and make sure nothing goes on. It's been going on for many years. Now, just so you know, the NYPD and New York City is led by a bunch of self-promoters. One being the chief of department, John Schell, who hasn't said no to any camera that's ever, popped in his face. The other being the deputy mayor of public safety and well-known clout chaser, Kaz Daughtry. So before anything else, I'm going to play a clip of the morning yesterday where this was on WPIX 11, which is clearly in the tank for Eric Adams. Is really bad and pathetic. Kaz Daughtry and John Schell come on and start self-promoting before this parade really gets going. So let's hear what they had to say.
Kaz Daughtry and the one, the only chief of department, John Schell.
Kaz, I need to get you this shot. Right
get in here. Get in here.
Where are you? Come over here.
Then let me ask you,
All right, there we go.
2,500 police officers are along this parade route now, making sure that everyone is safe. I already know you started planning last year for security for this year.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about the planning.
The planning is extensive. We had cops out here last night for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. A new batch comes in. They're doing a great job. The planning is, there's so many layers to this that all the assets of NYPD are out here today for one reason and one reason only. Keep it safe, have some fun. Let's close out the summer, and let's go get some beef patties.
Wait, what country makes the best beef patties?
Jamaican beef patties.
Thank you. Now, Salvatore, you are a native New Yorker. We're not from Brooklyn, but we're from Queens. And where we grew up, because we grew up together in Queens, we saw this culture explode. It's a melting pot here. Tell us about your favorite part of coming here to the parade.
My favorite part about coming here to the parade is looking at all of the costumes, looking at all of the dances. I think when I was walking behind one of the floats, I seen these young girls about my daughter's age, 11 and 12 years old, and they looked like professional dancers. And I was just so astounded by the way how they were moving out here in the parkway. You got to say parkway.
Parkway.
And for you, what country makes the best kung fritters? I'm from Belize, by the way.
Hint.
Wait, I'll take Belize at 500, please.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Frack City.
The folks from the Bahamas
Yeah,
are flying one.
He's starting trouble, Kendall. Starting trouble.
I thought Kaz said Left Frack City. I'm sorry.
That's where we're from, Left Rack City.
So the goal, obviously, today is to focus on the beauty. And we thank you for what you're doing and all those officers out there, because their work lets us enjoy without having to be concerned.
Look, our cops here are the best in the business, hands down. They do it well. We've been doing it for decades on this parkway. We continue to do it. We keep getting better, and we just have fun. And what a better way to close out the summer. The weather's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. Perfect.
There's very
Yeah, the Parkway. Kaz and John Shell trying to fit in is absolutely ridiculous. And as you can see on the screen, and I'm going to start reading about what's going on. 2 people were shot immediately after that. And so far, what we know of, and this is from the New York Post, 6 shot along the West Indian Day parade route despite increased NYPD security. So I'm going to play a bunch of clips for you while I'm reading this so you can see what happened there. And a lot of this is from freedomnews.tv from Lydia Scootercaster. So the article is by George Roberts, Joe Marino, Larry Salona, and Zoe Hussein. 6 people were shot along the West Indian American Day parade route in Brooklyn on Monday evening in a bloody end to the annual celebration that drew hundreds of thousands of revelers and candidates in the crowded mayoral race. The roughly 2-mile route for the official annual parade kicked off at 11 a.m. on Utica Avenue near Lincoln Terrace Park, with festival goers traveling towards the Brooklyn Museum as a beefed-up deployment of NYPD officers that initially kept the peace. I like it like this. The cops are around. They're with the people, said Harold Harvey, 71, a Grenada native who grew up in Trinidad and Tobago and has lived in Crown Heights since 1979. There's more to this. Their heavy presence will keep away the people who come to make trouble, said Harvey, noting he was thankful for the increased security presence as he watched bands pass by on Empire Boulevard. But mayhem still erupted despite the boosted police presence. Later in the evening, 6 people were struck by bullets, including 2 with gang affiliations, and 3 separate shootings as the parade was winding down, police and sources said. A man in his 20s was shot in the leg, and a woman in her 40s was grazed by a bullet when gunfire rang out along the parade route on Eastern Parkway at about 5:35 p.m., police said. The pair were taken to Kings County Hospital Center, I know that well, in stable condition, according to the NYPD. But wait, there's more. 2 more people, a 26-year-old woman and a 21-year-old man, were shot on Eastern Parkway at about 6:30 p.m., according to police and sources. The man was shot once in the chest and the woman was struck in the shoulder. 5 shell casings were recovered at the scene, but the assailant is still on the loose, police said. About 2.5 miles away on North Street Avenue, near Sterling Place, a woman 40 and a 53-year-old man were shot at 6:15, sources said. All the gunshot victims are expected to survive. Mayor Adams, Democratic mayoral nominee Zohran Mamdani, ex-governor Andrew Cuomo, and GOP mayoral nominee Curtis Lee were all turned out to the parade with groups of their supporters to shake hands with revelers ahead of the November general election. Slew of other local leaders joined in on the festivities, including Governor Kathy Hochul, who walked the parade with Reverend Al Sharpton by her side, and also everyone's favorite Attorney General Letitia James. Cops even danced in place as music blared along the route, with parade goers wrapped in flags. Legions of New Yorkers gathered before dawn in Crown Heights for Juve, the traditional daybreak festivities that marked the start of the carnival. Partiers smeared with colorful paint oil and powder frolicked and raucously danced under the cover of darkness before the daylight parade celebrations ensued. We still enjoyed our culture, even though we've been living here for a long time, since 77-year-old retired social worker Maureen Bellinger of Trinidad. A record number of NYPD officers were deployed to the festivities that have long been overshadowed by violence, such as then Governor Cuomo aide Carrie Gabay was fatally shot in the head during 2015 Juve after getting caught in gang crossfire. I remember that one well. So I guess they're mentioning that. There's a lot of pictures and videos which we've shown. Revelers passed through 13 security checkpoints along Empire Boulevard and Nostrand Avenue and were thoroughly screened with handheld metal detectors before entering the parade route. Spectators also faced 2 rows of barricades along the parade route as opposed to the 1 row from previous years. That's news to me having that. And I guess there's helicopters up in the air, which is why you might have seen Deputy Chief Richard Taylor on the scene. So he likes to misuse the helicopter allegedly. So you heard there that there's 6 people that were shot all over the place, but this is always the safest Juve and everything's great. And you could tell that Kaz Daughtry mentioning Parkway and trying to blend in, and John Shell's underhanded beef patty comment leads to what? What are you guys going to do about the violence? Because this is last year, and there he is, John Shell. This was a couple of years ago, 2013. And just for pretext here with this, on a Saturday night, this man jumps on Instagram. By the way, he has a fake handle, apparently. Allegedly, it's him. Sounds a lot like him, called Frank Furillo. Famously known from the Hill Street Blues drama, sitcom, comedy, whatever you want to call it. It was on the air many years ago in the 70s and 80s. And started berating myself, John McCarry, and Eric Dim in the comment section of one of my posts. So in response, because on a Saturday night when he should be worried about Juve, this guy is on, clearly always inebriated, as we know, on Instagram. So John pulled out that classic photo of John Shell, who I guess allegedly hurt his ankle that day. John, you were around when I broke my back, Mr. Shell, or triple fat neck, whatever you want to call yourself these days. I broke my back, had surgery, herniated disc, and came back. I never put in for disabilities. But John Shell then came in and wrote this whole thing. He says right here, it was all over the place on his social media. It was long one that this picture shows. I ended up with a broken ankle, dehydrated, and a lot of pain while waiting for a delayed ambulance. The guys got me out to the hospital, air cast, 3 bags of fluid. It took 2 months to recover and drove my wife crazy. Yeah, you have to, if you were in shape, that wouldn't have ever happened. So, you still weigh 350 pounds the way you did back then. And counting. It keeps rising the more alcohol you have. But then he got snarky, and Tariq Shepard jumped in the comments, that disgraced deputy commissioner. He jumped in, said that the real podcasts are in NYPD muster rooms. Guy, talk about guys that stole valor and honor. You got promoted to 3-star chief. No, you weren't even in the promotional ceremonies. You weren't even on the list. Nobody promoted you. You basically promoted yourself. You should be the last to talk, okay? And this idiot too. And that's why there'll be legal cases in the future with me and John Shell for all his other nonsense that he's been putting people through. But that's the professionalism of the chief of department. Instead of worrying about Juve, he's on Instagram worried about myself, John McCarry, and Eric Dim. And then he goes in the morning to WPIX with Nicole Johnson, who's a known sycophant for Kaz Daughtry. She did a whole one-on-one with him when he first got promoted. and acted like this guy was God's gift to policing when he's a horrible, horrible cop. Just horrible, the stuff that he's done. By the way, both of them are involved in numerous sexual harassment / assault cases and cover-ups. Never addressed that. Nobody wants to ask them that question. So, women are afraid to be around them. Let me just play a little bit. This is Dustin Johnson interviewing Kaz Dordry back when he first got promoted.
The red vials, they were little vials of crack that had red caps, yellow caps, blue caps. And I remember seeing that all over in the back playground area there. I remember somebody got shot right back there. I was walking out that building. I heard pop pow. I remember seeing a young lady holding her pocketbook to the guy's neck.
As a child growing up here, everyone had their hands on Daughtry's upbringing. So to see him navigate the rough streets to being one of the most powerful people in the NYPD is an inspiration to those who know him.
I raised this guy since he was a baby. Basketball, tennis, everything.
I haven't been here almost 20 years, Nicole. And to come back here and see the people that send me messages, that send my mother messages, because we grew up here. Everybody from this neighborhood that's still here from when we were here, constantly on group chats with my mother. And
So let's set the record straight. When we were here, I grew up here too.
Yes, you did. That's right. Six Brothers was right here.
Six Brothers was right here.
Yep.
Back then, times were.
This is a fanboying like I've never seen before. They probably, I don't know if they know each other, but clearly, as you could tell, there was nothing that was being asked or told in that whole segment about real issues. What is he going to do? Of course, he has a couple of NYPD security behind him that's misusing taxpayer funds. I mean, he is a cop, has a gun, and nobody knew who he was at that time, other than we found out later on what kind of a menace he really is. And, they write and do all these puff pieces for them. That's a puff piece. So, nothing of anything that's of any value or anything to the people, taxpayers, about what his job is or what it entails. I guess drones. Was he thinking about drones back then? How is he going to save Brooklyn from the violence on Juve? But just to put an exclamation point on yesterday, here's another one from New York Post from Joe Marino and Shane Galvin. Man killed, 4 others injured in drive-by shooting in New York City. So they're doing drive-by shootings in New York City, just so you know. A young man was killed and 4 others were wounded in a drive-by shooting in the Bronx on Monday night, cops and sources said. The carnage unfolded just after 7:30 p.m. as shots were fired from a car that rolled up on a group gathered on Allerton Avenue near White Plains Road, according to the NYPD and sources. 5 men were struck by the gunfire and were transported to Jacoby Hospital, where a 24-year-old victim was pronounced dead, police said. The 4 other victims, 2 27-year-olds, a 25-year-old, and a 21-year-old, were listed in stable condition, according to cops. Sources said the bloodshed might be gang-related. Isn't that interesting? 5 people were taken into custody following the drive-by, and 3 firearms have been recovered, the NYPD said. An investigation is ongoing. So that gang database will come into play. That's the one that I believe they're in favor for, not in favor for. And New York City is on fire. Chicago is on fire. But crime is down. You don't need a National Guard. We don't need anything. And in all fairness, because I believe Eric Sanders has it right, where they had 20, I think he wrote that 2,500 cops were on the scene there. See, so case in point, the NYPD deployed 2,500 officers to this year's West Indian Day festivities, including Juve, and still violence erupted. We've seen it with Cuomo. We've seen it with Adams. And we'll see it again with whoever comes next. If you truly understand sociology, you know all candidates are the same. The only difference is how they divide the spoils. Until we confront social stratification, the entrenched hierarchies of wealth, race, class, and opportunity will keep repeating the cycle. Crime, poverty, and broken trust in institutions aren't involved with more police or aren't solved with more police. They're structural outcomes. Real safety requires more than spectacle police and requires dismantling inequality and investing in housing, education, mental health, and opportunity. Otherwise, society will continue to suffer no matter the name on the ballot. I think that's well put. And here's another thing about Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson rebuking President Trump's potential deployment of National Guard to Windy City, telling a Monday crowd he'll protect the humanity of its residents. No federal troops in the city of Chicago. No militarized force in the city of Chicago, Johnson said during the Workers Over Billionaire protest. We're going to defend our democracy in the city of Chicago. We're going to protect the humanity of every single person in the city of Chicago. What can I say? These guys make everything about politics. Look, my choice is Curtis Sliwa. I've said this over and over again. I don't know how anyone in New York City does not vote for Curtis Sliwa, who was at Juve, right? People screaming that Republicans don't go there. He was there. He was shaking hands, and I could tell you there are plenty of cops that he personally went over to, said hello. They had a lot to say about what's going on. Curtis is well-informed. Curtis is the guy that could lead New York City out of this mess. Would he be a little bit of what Eric Sanders said? I guess you could say that about whoever is in charge and how they divide spoils. But I really believe that Curtis, a lifelong New Yorker, will be better for crime, definitely public safety issues, definitely will bring crime down. And he'll work around the laws. He'll work within the laws to make things better and advocate for public safety, which is something New York City desperately needs when 11 people were shot yesterday. 11 people were shot. I know the soccer mom is going to come out and tell you crime is down. You'll have triple fat neck John Shell tell you, oh, it's the safest big city in America. But do you feel safe? And do the numbers show that? Because unless the bullets hit a human being, they don't even count that as a shooting. And just to cap the whole weekend, here's something that I posted about John Shell. I don't know if people know this, but his executive officer, which is his deputy chief, right there, I posted this on X and no one reported this. NYPD Chief of Department John Shell's executive officer just put in for retirement. And Mr. Shell is alleged to be out the door himself in the next few months on a 3-quarter disability himself. Of course, Shell may not because I'm posting this, but it's expected to be by the end of October. And in these are NYPD personnel orders that shows Deputy Chief Bruce Separano. He is his executive officer in the Chief of Department's office. His terminal, which he put in for, all of it, lump sum effective 5/31/2029. That's best way to put it, the exit strategy. And the rumor is that John Shell allegedly will be leaving by the end of next month. Now, he might change that because I said this, but it's well known. The guy's big mouth. He can't stop bragging about things to everybody. So he got approved apparently for a 3/4 disability. I would say New York City should challenge that. This guy is supposed to be disabled but can't stop going on television and doing all these other things. I would challenge that if you were taxpayers, if that's true. I believe the pension board is the last hurdle for him. So what can I say? New York City is a mess, and we'll have more on this as the week goes on. I'm sure John and Eric will touch up on it. Maybe Rob and Ron, an executive perspective, will touch up on Juve and what happened there. But so far, 6 people that were shot at Juve, 5 others in the Bronx, 11 total. Obviously, there's fatalities, and we're going to hear that crime is down. The soccer mom should be police commissioner till the end of time, no matter who's the mayor. That's what you're going to hear. It's truly unbelievable. So with that being said, now we're going to get to the main event here on the show today, which is the theme was someone that was working as a corrections officer, as a current lawsuit as we speak on this. Before that, Frankie Pagliucci, $9.99 to the Sal Greco Show. Thanks a lot, Frankie. I'm going to have some espresso on you or cafecito. God bless this show and the finest unfiltered. I'll raise my espresso to you, Frankie. And so we're going to have on my guest, who's a former corrections officer, has a very riveting story about what happened to him. He was in Department of Corrections. He was terminated under a cloud of dust, which you hear a lot about in the Eric Adams administration under Eric Adams. So without any further ado, and he worked at Rikers. Nick Gojcaj.
Gojcaj. You almost got it right, but you know what? It's acceptable. You get a passing grade. How are you?
How are you, Nick? How is everything?
I'm good. And yourself? I want to thank you for having me out on your show, and I could tell my story. I've done it on other podcasts, but I'm certainly honored to be on your platform and to just let people know to fight for their rights and what the department says and does. A lot of times is illegal, and they do not follow protocol. They try hold it to you, but they don't follow it themselves.
I listen.
You know it personally.
I know not only personally. I could tell from so many guests I've had on, including lawyers. Full disclosure, Nick's lawyer we've had on, John Scholar. I know him. He's a very busy man with a lot of lawsuits lined up against the city, especially under this mayor. So they don't do what's right. Especially, they like to discard people. They say they don't. They say they don't, but they do discard people. And it's like a big club. And if you're not in it, they don't care about you. I've proven this with the whole criminal association thing. So, Nick, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your story, and how you even got to corrections and why you wanted to be in corrections?
Well, I came out to corrections more out of like default. It's not like I wanted to be a correction officer. Nobody wants to be a correction officer. If anything, they want to be police officers.
Don't say that in front of Norman Seabrook.
No, Norman Seabrook, he knows.
Yeah, Norman was the how can I say this? As far as a union leader goes, probably one of the most polarizing figures when he was there. And I think corrections ran so much smoother with him as the head of the union. But, then you know what happened afterwards. And shout out to Norman because
salute to Norman Seabrook.
I think corrections really fell off, the wagon, the wheels fell off the wagon once Norman was no longer in the union. That's all I'm going to say. So I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're not interrupting me. Matter of fact, I'll just add on a little more to what you just said about Norman Seabrook. His tenure was before I came, so all I could hear, all the stories I heard about him, were it's not from personal experiences, from what others have. I mean, this guy is like a godlike figure to the corrections world for the more seasoned veterans that were there under his tenure. They all speak so highly of him. So, I mean, I haven't heard one bad thing ever from they were saying things ran so much smoother and better, like you said. And also, he was when he was there, he was listed as one of the top 50 most influential people in New York City.
Correct.
Believe it or not.
That's right. So, I remember.
Kudos to him. I mean, it's difficult to knock him then. To get that kind of praise.
People always knock you. You got to take the highs with the lows. I had him on the show. I do speak to Norman. He's a good guy. I really hope that they would look into his case and maybe giving him a presidential pardon for it. It's a little bit of a political hit on him. He was kind of targeted with stuff and involved in and around some, seedy, shady people that had their own, interest, their best interest at heart and not the interest of the city. But I think he was charged with some of the stuff that people like Pat Lynch did, as the NYPD union head. So why isn't he in handcuffs? They could have actually taken him out of Con Sofrito in the Bronx, where he loved to frequent, since he didn't care about the union members. He cared about partying, Pat Lynch. So, I mean, it's two people treated differently. And I have a big problem with that whenever that happens. So,
well, that's always an issue when look, there are rules in place. So, like, let's say even the NYPD and New York City Corrections Department, there are rules in place. But the problem becomes when people don't follow those rules. They say that rule applies to Gojcaj, but not Greco. And that's where you get this whole mess. You got the wrong people making decisions.
That seems to be it's like it's been going on for a long time. It's like been on steroids under this administration, because this is like, I don't know. It's a clown outfit. I mean, Eric Sanders says it best. He says it's a clown outfit because it's really, you don't even know who's really in charge. It's like, I'm a friend of Eric Adams. I'm in charge right now, you know? And, you know, you had it under Luis Molina, who was in charge over there. And, I mean, that was a clown outfit when he was there in corrections. And it still kind of is because of who's in charge as the mayor, you know? But I guess you wanted to be a cop, right? You wanted to join the NYPD, not the corrections. Is that it?
Yeah. When I was younger, and then I failed psych, and I went into the court.
Nick, you failed psych. Wait a minute.
I know. I heard about the thing, but I don't think I qualified because it happened a long time ago. I think the statute of limitations might have expired for me, but I'm definitely going to contact John about it.
Oh, yes. Unlicensed psychologist evaluating you. Well, yeah, of course.
I actually pulled when I heard that story. I think you mentioned like 2 weeks ago. I was driving in my car, and I pulled over. I was like, "Am I hearing this correct? Are they saying they have unlicensed psychologists out there failing people, and they need cops?" And then all of a sudden, now some of these guys get past. You know, they make it to the academy. They're on the street, and now they want to fire them because they're on probation. Oh,
yes, Nick. You might have been victimized by an unlicensed psychologist who told you shouldn't be hired in the NYPD, but I don't have a license to practice. I'm not licensed in the state, but hey, I'm getting overtime and the joke's on all of you in New York City. This is not just a few years, Nick. This goes back at least 4 decades, just so you know. So you fall into that bracket.
All right. Well, I promise you, I'm going to reach out to John Scola, my lawyer, your buddy.
Yes.
And you know,
Paisan.
Yeah, Paisan, and mine too. And you know, we'll see. We'll explore the options and see what he can come up with there. Because here's the scenario. At that point, when I was interviewed for psych, so I passed everything else. This was the last thing before I was hired, and my best friend had died like a week or two before that. And so they asked me, "What was the most traumatic experience in your life?" And at that point, you know, I broke down crying. I said, explaining to my best friend's parents, that their kid literally just died. And at that point, just gushing. I had a breakdown, just like a faucet with tears. And then on the report, they said, "Oh well, this young gentleman can't handle death, so I'm failing him." I can handle death. I'm sorry if I cried. You know what I'm saying? And it was a fresh wound. It was like 1 or 2 weeks old. And like, what do you want me to do? You want me to say, "Oh, that's fine." That's like, well, of course you're gonna cry. How could you not? I mean, it's very difficult not to.
If they listen to fail someone for that,
I promise you, that's what they said on the report.
Now, just so people know, you have to go through the same process in corrections, correct?
And yeah, exactly.
Okay, so corrections has always had licensed psychologists, but the NYPD hasn't. So how are you not good enough for the NYPD under the same,
same guidelines? Right.
But corrections said you were okay. So somebody explain this one to me.
It doesn't make sense to me, but then again, who am I? Because a lot of even my particular situation doesn't make sense, and it doesn't make sense to my lawyer, which, by the way, he loves because it's good for his business. But people get screwed over here badly by lack of leadership
and unlicensed psychologists.
That's outrageous. Whoever signed off on that and didn't do a good background check needs to be investigated.
Well, you're looking at it's been I think this has been a ploy of theirs for a long time, whether they know about it or don't. I think at this point, when you go on all these decades in the institution, what are you going to do? Because the first guy to make the move will show that, they did all of this in the past. So you're going to be open up. You're going to be liable for a bunch of stuff. It doesn't matter how you look at it. It's when do you stop the bleeding? Because at this point, there's blood protruding from everywhere, and they're just putting Band-Aids when you can't. You got to sterilize that wound, or you got to have the surgery at this point. That's how I see it with the NYPD. Their answer is there is no answer. There is no exemption. There's no exemption for these people. There's no exemption.
There's an answer. They just don't want to do it.
No.
That's the problem. There is an answer. Is say, hey, you're the fake doctor. You're no longer employed here. You're lucky you're not in handcuffs.
But Nick, they made so much overtime on top of it.
Right.
So you go on a state website, you run that woman that was in the article, run a couple of these people. They're not licensed. They don't have a license. There's no exemption. There is none. I don't care who says it. Even a reporter came on. You had Eric Sanders go over this, all these different titles, laws. There are no exemptions. And just to know, we might have someone right now on the show that's been personally affected by these unlicensed psychologists in the NYPD. You see how someone's life can change because of someone's decision. Because then he would later on have to pivot to corrections where the licensed psychologists had no problem with him there, but they did in the NYPD. And that's the importance of this, because I don't hear anyone else talking about it other than myself, this platform, between the Sal Greco Show and the Finest Unfiltered whole network. You got Eric Sanders. You have John. I know John Skoll is working on something behind the scenes. And Grace, who wrote the article, Grace Price, and
Right.
City and State. Right there, just so you know, this woman does not have a license. She's making overtime. Not a licensed psychologist. I mean, heck, I mean, can I just show up and say I'm a licensed plumber? And I don't know. And I never worked on plumbing in my life. This is sick. Here's Eric Sanders. He's chiming in right here. Rules for thee, not for me.
Absolutely, Eric.
I don't know. I mean, I feel bad, Nick. I actually think that right now you're a victim long before all of this by an unlicensed psychologist. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it went from bad to worse.
It did. You're going to have a suit. I would call John after he get off to see how you could kick that one off, because this is going to be a whole nother chapter in your life going after the unlicensed psychologist.
Yeah, you want to add another twist to this? Let's have some fun with this. You know, like let's just throw shit against the wall and see what happens here. When I pass psych for corrections, by the way, for the people who aren't law enforcement over here, you need to qualify psychologically, so this way the city can trust that you're going to make the right decision with a handgun. They asked me about that, and I told them, and she, the psychologist for corrections, like, they shouldn't have failed you for that. I said, well, look at the reports. It's there. You know, I'm not making it up.
See, I didn't have anyone that could say the questions they asked you or what, because first of all, this is a HIPAA violation talking to an unlicensed psychologist, because they're not a doctor.
Exactly.
You're telling them this is personal info. You're telling them that they're asking you, but they're not licensed. So how does that, you got HIPAA violations. They're making unwarranted overtime, and they're assessing candidates and personnel, because there's a medical division also, and personnel to tell them whether they should stay or go, or what they should do with them. And their word is like God. It's really that's why this story is something that never ends and just continues to grow. The unlicensed psychologist.
Yeah, and you know, it sucks for the taxpayer. We always wonder where our tax money's going. This is where it's going, to nonsense. You know, I mean, New York City's gonna have to pay lawsuits because of the incompetence here and because of the scam. Because that's what I call it. It's a scam to me. If you hire unlicensed people, huh?
You were a victim of this scam. I guarantee you this psychologist, because they had about, was it 55 out of 74 of them? Only 9 were even a warrant or something, but it was the one person that kept doing it over and over again anyway. It's like one person, and they have one supervisor checking up on all their work, which is like impossible. It's impossible for one person to see hundreds of thousands of you have to understand, they're assessing candidates like crazy. So how do you have time to assess hundreds of thousands of assessments? You can't. One person. That was the whole scheme of this thing. Yet they're trying to tell you that, oh, there's an exemption with citing, but because they're allowed, if you have exempt, and the exemptions only are for the Board of Education, right? The state board. So it's for the schools, and I think the Department of Mental Health and Hygiene, there's an exemption. Nowhere does it say New York City Police Department. They're citing something that doesn't exist. That's the best way to handle it. And now they clamped up. And I think this is so much bigger than you or I. And I mean, I have people like in the comments, you have Anthony DiMaggio had the same problem in his police department in Yonkers there. It says that the psych for you, if you're saddened by death, you're too soft to be a cop. If you're indifferent to it, you're too cold and callous to be a cop.
Right.
And that's kind of what it's like. But to be evaluated by someone who's not licensed. Oh, they went to school. Oh, No, you have to be certified. They're not certified. So it's not deemed legal. Special Hagen says the city's hiring and employment practices are dysfunctional across all of its agencies, although it is partially incompetent. It's partially incompetence. It's also deliberate. It's too pervasive for it not to be. I agree. And you're just showing a little bit of it before you even get into what actually happened to you, that you were already victimized before you walked on to that job in corrections.
Yeah, the word requirement. Just do it like that. The word requirement. You're required to be licensed to do the job. Required, meaning there are no exceptions.
No.
You're right, but somehow these people got it anyway. Required. It's like you're required to have two legs to let's say do the job. I would imagine, right? And all of a sudden I walk in with one. You know what? Let Nick Gojcaj go. That guy, we'll give him the job. It's required. There's no exceptions.
It's funny. It's sad if it wasn't funny. Because it's just this is how this dysfunctional agency operates, and everybody just wants to don't talk about. When they love talking about, Nick, crime is down though. Remember that crime is down. 11 people were shot yesterday. People had fatalities. But let's fanboy. Let's throw fans on Eric Adams and John Shell and Kaz Dodge. You're doing a great job. And the soccer mom just got Tish. I forgot about that.
Yeah, you know this because you're a detective. You're NYPD. There's only 2 reports that are accurate, that are not manipulated, or I should say slightly manipulated. Murder, because you can't fake that. Dead bodies and stolen cars.
Oh,
because right.
They found a way now. Trust me, they found a way to make homicides, suicides. Yeah, they're doing everything.
Okay, all right.
They find ways around it. They find ways.
I stand corrected.
Yeah,
I stand corrected then, because I figured those, if someone steals my car, I have to call 911. Someone's going to commit a crime, run someone over, and they're going to say I did it. You have to report it.
Yeah, I see Juju in the comments parroting his, or maybe he parroted himself. John Shell doesn't know how to spell "you're fired." You're going to be sued, John Shell. Just so you know, keep it up.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. That's somebody I don't know who that is.
John Shell's the chief of department. Decided to disparage myself, who's in current litigation with the police department, and he decided to go online and post that on an article. He reposted an article that I was reporting on about him and Dr. Phil. He was getting paid for expenses, and it definitely looks like a conflict of interest. So he then wrote hashtag "you're fired," but it means an E. But when you're inebriated all the time, Nick, as you know, when you had too many, you wouldn't know how to spell or speak because you slur your speech, which he knows a lot about that. But John Shell will have a lot to look forward to in a very, very, very close future. So let's get back to you though, Nick, because we're getting way off the rails here.
Don't worry about it, brother. Me and you, I believe we're both off from the PD and corrections today. Yeah, we don't have to report to work today at 3:00 for our tours. Yeah. So I have time.
Yeah. No, so you obviously you were evaluated by more than likely an unlicensed psychologist. So that's why you didn't get in the New York City Police Department. So then you went to corrections. You passed all of that. So continue from that point. What happened there?
All right. So it's all the horror stories you hear out there are accurate. Matter of fact, they're probably a little worse than that. But what I'm going to give you guys is an angle as from an officer standpoint, not an inmate's, because the place is just dysfunctional in every aspect of the way you could describe it. So I basically got illegally terminated. I got hurt on the job, and by the way, everything's on camera. So I was breaking up a fight for 32 minutes. This is April 27, 2021. This is during the height of COVID-19. We are extremely short-staffed, allegedly short-staffed. To me, I call it mismanaged, because you have too many people doing non-corrections work. Instead of, fundamentally, we were hired and trained in the academy to be correction officers, to deal with inmates. They never trained us how to do Excel spreadsheets and answer phones and do nonsense gigs. But look, so we're not short staffed to do work that's supposed to be done by civilians. But even in my affidavit, John on the affidavit said there was over 1,000 posts that they could have put me on, over 1,000 department wide. So let's just say he's slightly wrong. There's what, 800?
Mm-hmm.
Then you're not really short staffed. 800 would be the equivalent of roughly 2 academies.
Maybe more with the way they're hiring.
Right, or because people don't want the job, and then when you get hired, they look to tag you. Tag you meaning discipline you, right, and for everything.
Guess what? Eric Sanders just said the same problem in the NYPD. You actually, you're talking as if this is the NYPD, because all the all these positions you're talking about should be handled administratively by civilians. Same thing as the NYPD. Right. They don't have anyone in the street allegedly, but they have 1 million inside gigs for these people. The admin lieutenant who wants to be like that big rooster running around has 2 females. The young ones or the ones they deemed good looking as vulnerable. They're vulnerable or whatever they're doing behind closed doors. So those 2 females are working in his office. That's 2 cops right there. That's 1 vehicle in the NYPD. 2 cops in 1 car, right? But no, he doesn't want a civilian. We don't hire civilians. We just keep putting full duty cops in that office. And that's just 1 position, Nick. So you see how this goes. And there's crime analysis. There's the 124 room. There's
what's that? What's the 1-2? I don't know what that is.
124 room is so when you go in there in a precinct, when you walk in, usually where they sit, where the police administrative aide will be, that's actually a civilian, or where they write their fill out reports and stuff or put it in the computer system. That's the 124 room, and usually I've seen it. There's cops in that room working. It says 124 room. Officer, whoever. Right. So why is this why do you even need a cop in there? You don't. It's I don't get it. Here's one.
I'll explain it to you. I'll explain that part to you. The parts that you didn't get. Yeah. It's called nepotism and favoritism, because they know the right people. Because they don't want you, Sal Greco, or me, Nick Gojcaj, to go get we're not hooked up. So go ahead, go take the crappiest post. Go out there in Brownsville projects. Chase crackheads up and down the staircases out there, while the nepotism guy gets to hang out. Gets to hang out in the office all day doing nothing. Meantime, for everybody out there in the public that's not aware of this, it's the same exact pay. So you don't get like hazard pay for going out there. So you get paid according to year 1. You already know how much you're making. Year 2. Year 3, year 4, year 5. So you're making the same exact money if we both have the same amount of time. But you get to hang out at the desk, nice and safe. I got to go get spit on and deal with homeless people and people with mental illnesses in the subways.
Yeah, and here, Eric Sanders said that the problem doesn't change because the unions are too powerful. And Joel Ramirez says, like, the ICO assistant. That's another position, integrity control officer. They have, so the assistant. Why do you need an assistant for? You're the lieutenant. What do you? These are made up positions, Nick. So that is why you have misuse in management and misuse of personnel. You're misallocating personnel. There's not a shortage of cops. There's a shortage of, brains. Okay, it's incompetence. You can fill plenty of these administrative roles with civilians. You need to hire civilians, which will then push the administrative cops out on the street. Okay, and I know the scam with a lot of these cops, but that's it. That's the answer. Then you can work with 27,000 cops. Because 27,000 cops, 98% of them will be out in the street. But you don't have that.
Where they belong. That's what they signed up for.
They're not in the street, Nick. You know that. You can see it. The reason they're short and they're robbing Peter to pay Paul, meaning the 106 precinct, Deputy Inspector Van Toll over there, they're taking your personnel and putting it to the 101. They're sending them to Juve. They're sending them to whatever stupid event is going on. And then they leave the 106 with no one. And there's no one to fill it up. Why? Because everyone wants to stay inside and put their glasses on and say, hey, it's party time. I'm hanging out in the office. I'm too good for this. What are you talking about?
Absolutely.
What are you talking about?
Do you know who my hook is? Are you crazy?
That's how they talk.
Yeah. I'm not doing that. Let the garbage man handle that. I'm royalty. I am friends with the so and so. That's my neighbor. That's my godfather. That's my uncle. That's my whoever. I'm not doing that. Give it to somebody else who beneath me. No, we're equals.
Or your side piece, as we like to put some of them. So
the side piece that only lasts there because of the gig, and then once the gig is up, that side piece is no longer there.
That's why you see a lot of divorces and all that going on too. That's a big problem. Sexual harassment's a big problem in the police department recently. But before you get Eric sends $4.99 to the Sal Greco Show. Shout out to you, Eric. I'll be having espresso or cafecito on you later. This is how John Shell is getting away with his 3/4. What he means is John Shell, like I said, is putting in for that 3/4 from what I understand. So he's going to retire on a disability pension, but he's been working all this time. It's really something that should be investigated if that happens. And that's a disgrace that he gets to do anything 3/4. He should actually be terminated right now. If things were real and it should be the way it is, he would be terminated, but he's not. You know, and Eric Sanders says here the spoil system still exists, just reformulated to fit within the civil service framework. And that's the truth. Because the spoil system, it's designed, that's what they do. It's called the spoil system. All we're talking about, they're exploiting this to the 10th degree, especially the cronies and the nepotism people. So please continue, Nick.
I'll tell you, this is going to infuriate some people out there. Obviously, me and you are aware of what goes on with the nepotism and these fake posts. And I knew two guys. Their gig, now mind you, they're getting overtime, so they're making top pay and overtime. So they're in the $150,000 to $170,000 tax bracket during COVID, because it's beneath them to take a post. Their job by the warden to go out there and polish doorknobs for overtime to avoid spreading COVID. Imagine that.
I remember a lot of people stayed home, and there was one guy in particular I remember during that used the excuse that he had whatever it was, that he got allergies or something. And then he went to the surgeon and they said, there's nothing wrong with you. You have to go back to work. Came back and said again, I can't work because of this. And he actually transferred him. But then he ended up writing a bunch of, this cop does this and that one just, when the word, Eric Adams likes to use the word rat. Here's a guy that made a ton of allegations on everyone because that person got transferred for doing exactly what you said. During that whole thing, he was trying to work from home. And while he worked from home, they told him to go back to work. And then he came back to work and said, I can't do this. And went out sick again on this stuff. And that's when they said, all right, they had to put this person back twice for this stuff. So there were people, once again, taking advantage of this system. I see this guy, Juju. Sal is filled with hate and wants retaliation. Seek therapy, pal. You sound just like John Shell. You should seek therapy if it is, because I don't know who has the time to be an executive on the job and watch shows and comment like they're going out of style. I don't get it.
I want his post.
You want to be John Shell? You don't want that.
No, I don't know anything about him. I don't know the story, but I'm just saying I would love the post where you're paying me full time. My full duty, my pay, and I get to go on Twitter and YouTube and Instagram, just checking up on people. Can I sign up for that? I believe I can.
They even one better. They were hanging out at night at these places that human trafficking reports on and done. They were partying with felons all day long. It's fine, especially John Shell. Hey, he's seen with President Trump. Why isn't he terminated? Isn't he a convicted felon? I hate to say that is true, but I'm with Roger Stone. That's bad, but John Shell could be with the president off duty. That's the NYPD. Rules for me and not for thee.
Same thing with corrections, my brother. Same thing. Same thing.
So continue on what you were stating.
All right. So this is the date of the incident was April 27th, 2021. Like I said, this is the peak of COVID. And we are short-staffed, which we already addressed, but we'll just move forward. So I'm breaking up the fight. It's a legit one-on-one fight no weapons, nobody's jumping in. It's just straight knuckles, and I'm spraying. I'm doing everything that I was trained to do. I'm hitting the PBA, which is the personal body alarms. For those that don't know, when you need help, which I needed it at that point, you hit it, and it's supposed to be a unit of people that comes in. So everybody that's in the hallways. I worked at AMKC. It's called the C95, and so whoever is like happens to be in the hallways is they have to what they call suit up or put on the suit, and they call it the turtles. Put on with the riot vest, the mask. Yeah. No, that's the procedure. So typically, if it's done right, it could take 6-7 minutes. This particular, and that's with a team. That's with 6 people, and a captain, and a person with a camera. Well, that person's basically useless. They're recording. Yeah. These are the rules. And they came. They did not come. Oh, there it is. And there you go. That's it. I got one person after 32 minutes.
One?
Correct. One. It's difficult to miscount that one. One person came. No units, no nothing. Nobody from the office is doing nothing. Said, oh, wow, the officer's in need of help. Because of all the tugging and fighting and breaking up the fight, I have to do that because one of them was like a boxer and the other one was a very small person. I couldn't let them just go at it because if the little one gets killed by the big guy, which eventually would have happened, who's liable then? Me.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to say you did nothing. You just stood there waiting. You have to do something. In the process, Sal, at the end of this, without getting into all the theatrics of everything, I needed 4 surgeries. Left knee, right elbow, right shoulder, and lower back.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, 32 minutes is a long time, Sal. Yeah. I mean, did they train Uni Academy for 32-minute or physical altercations? I say no.
No,
and I don't care who you are. Professional fighters don't fight for 32 minutes.
No, they break. You saw that, one round, 2 rounds. It's always, they can't do it.
Exactly. And those guys train specifically for that. I don't train for that. I was a basketball player and a softball player. You know what I'm saying? So I can handle the short bursts, 1 or 2 minutes. All right, yeah, let's go, bro. Let's do it. 32 minutes? No. Something's going to go wrong physically. And it did. So, obviously I report what happened. I'm asking questions like, what happened here? What's the purpose of having a PBA, the personal body alarm, if nobody's going to come? I might as well not have it. They tell me, oh, it's short staff. It's short staff. And in my mind, when I hear that, it's mismanagement. It's not short staff.
Yes, you're correct, 100%.
Right, as we spoke about earlier. Then they're like, oh, okay. They wrote me up. They gave me 3 CDs for asking, where was the backup?
3 CDs?
Yeah, 3 CDs are command disciplines.
Yeah, for asking for backup.
Yeah, no. So they didn't like. So I beat everything because it's all bullshit. What they're trying to do was intimidate me into taking some kind of, I guess you would call it a plea.
Correct.
Right. So to accept like a 2-day suspension or a 4-day suspension, some form of discipline to accept, just so this way then they could say, "Ha, we got you." I was on probation when this happened. As you know, when you're on probation, it's a very short leash that you have.
Yeah, they get fired for anything, or they use that as an excuse. You're on probation.
Exactly. So being that I was on probation at that point, I was fighting for my life. And the union, get this, the union, the people that I paid to represent me, they're saying, well, I have a foreign name, it's Gojcaj, but everybody called me G. Even inmates, G. Say, G, just take some days, take 2 to 4 days. I'm like, no, man, I didn't do anything. None of this stuff is true.
Sounds like my case.
Yeah, and I said, I actually told the delegate, who's a nice guy. I'm not going to mention his name for the people who the 95ers. I'm not going to mention who the delegate was. He let him volunteer, and I told him, listen, my man, do me a favor. I'll do all the talking. You just stay there and represent me just in case they violate my rights or just be a great witness. I got this. Since I see that your attitude is you're not going to fight for me, I'll fight for myself. I went there and explained it to the warden. She dropped everything. So if I accept one thing right there, they say, "Oh, now we have grounds to fire you because I'm on probation." As petty it might have been, like the equivalent of, like I said, a jaywalking ticket. Ah, you got a CD, right? You got Gojcaj here? Yeah. You're done. So what they did then, they accommodated me. They saw that I was injured, and they gave me a light duty position, which was answering phones behind the desk, which was the privileged position, the nepotism, or like the word that you like to use, the cronies.
Cronies, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I'm legitimately injured. There's people out there who are not injured there. This position is created for people like myself that have what they call line of duty. It's all on camera. I mean, the city approved all 4 surgeries. They're paying for it. They're paying me to this day. So clearly, there's no faking it. I didn't walk in injured, like they were trying to allege. It was a bunch of just nonsense trying to cover up their incompetence.
You can't fake an injury. You can't fake an injury. So you know what I mean. If you have the documents and the data, and you actually come in and you have all the MRIs, X-rays, you literally were at the hospital, had surgery. How do you fake that?
Well,
I don't know.
Because again, look who we're talking about here.
I know. Yeah. Unlicensed psychologists. I know they had. I know these
exactly.
are the people.
So it's the same type of thing here. So for those that don't know how this works, I'm gonna explain it to the non-law enforcement, New York City law enforcement people out there. The way this process works is you have to go. You guys are in Junction Boulevard as well. Your health management division when you guys are injured.
Yeah.
It's the same building. I think we're on the 13th floor and you guys are on the 15th, or vice versa, something like that. So you have to report there every single month with a sheet signed by surgeons and doctors saying, they saw you over the past month, and they give their recommendation on how long it takes to heal. The corrections doctors see this report. At that point, they make an assessment to continue to put you on light duty. They get the last word, even though they're lower in rank in terms of credibility. The department doctors in these particular cases say, "Know what? You're not injured enough to be light duty. You're going full duty." That's just how it works. They never did that, so clearly they knew that I was injured because they continued to put me in as light duty. You have any questions so far?
Yeah, no, I mean, that makes sense. That part makes sense.
Okay, I'm just wondering on the comments.
I see. Well, you have one. Jason Amata asked, "How long is probation period?"
Probation period is 2 years. 2 years plus, you have to make up any days that you took off on vacation. So let's say hypothetically you took 15 vacation days in 2 years. So it's 2 years plus 15 days, plus any days you called in sick, plus any days you might have been light duty, because light duty days don't count.
Does line of duty count?
Excuse me?
Does the line of duty count? You were out line of duty. Does that count against you?
Correct.
Yeah, that's messed up.
Yeah. No, well, that's exactly my scenario. So then they bring me in as light duty, Sal. And since those days don't count as working off of probation because I'm on light duty, I'm still on probation. So the city's attitude is, oh, even though we made the accommodation to you, we're still firing you because you're on probation. Mind you, Sal, they had 3.5 years to write up some kind of demerit on me. And for 3.5 years, there's nothing on my 22R. Is it 22R or 22AR? I forget the name of the report. So they can't even go to court to defend themselves on that, to say, oh, well, the 22AR, look at it. It explains that, it's self-explanatory. Not in my particular case, because there's nothing there.
Eric Sanders says, line of duty doesn't count against you. No. So that they weren't counting that, meaning you're hurt. So they're going to say, well, we're going to freeze that time that you were out line of duty. That didn't
exactly
count against.
Yeah, that's black and white. There's no fighting it. That's it. That's in the rules and regs.
He says it's 2 years of uninterrupted full duty status.
Exactly. That's
what it is.
Yep. Yep. Yeah,
But
so,
they're playing games. You could tell management is playing games.
yeah. So Mr. Sanders, that's your attorney. I know I've seen him on your show plenty of times. By the way, I like the guy. Salute, Mr. Sanders. So their attitude is we could do whatever we want to you. Forget about the medical discrimination that I'm protected by. My medical rights. The disability discrimination is essentially what it is. And their attitude is you're on probation, you don't have any rights. We could do whatever we want to you. And you know what, Sal? I want them to say that on the oath in front of a jury when we go to trial.
You know, John came on the show and he said the number one problem in all the city agencies is disability discrimination. That's like and I'm seeing in your cases it's the same. It's the same thing. It's disability discrimination.
Yeah,
and they use it. They want to use it against you, but when other people are abusing the system, we'll say like potentially the chief of department is the NYPD. He's an executive. We have nothing. It's okay.
Hey,
okay.
You want to? Let me add a little cherry on top of this beautiful picture here that's already been painted. The city so far has delayed 2 hearings on me.
That's no way.
Yeah, but check this out. If I don't have any rights, because I'm on probation, I have no rights. So what they did is on the up and up. Why don't you just go to court and say he's on probation? End of discussion. Since that's their theory. Since I have no rights, why don't you just go to court and say that? Why clog up the system? Just unclog it. Show up to court. Matter of fact, I have my next hearing is September 16th. I pray to God New York City finally shows up. But I bet you a Peter Luger's dinner right now, Sal, that they'll delay it again on September 16th. Do you want to take that bet on camera?
Yeah, I bet you that's the name of the game with these people. I know in my own case. It's just they want to drag it out. They want you to like Eric just said, typical stalling tactics. You know what this is? Behind the scenes, Eric Adams himself, who thinks everyone around him is his friend. By the way, I hear he's in Florida right now, not too far from me. This guy loves coming to Florida for a guy who's the mayor of New York City. Eric Adams, right here, look at this. Statement from Todd Shapiro, spokesperson Eric Adams. Mayor Adams in Florida briefly to celebrate his 65th birthday with family and close friends. This is a personal trip, not connected to his campaign or any official city business. He will return by the evening and, as always, remains fully committed to working around the clock for the residents of New York City, even while away for a short period. That's probably some kind of fundraising. Maybe he's visiting Mayor Suarez, his Bitcoin buddy.
Yeah,
listen,
I don't know anything about that.
Everything Eric Adams does is never for what you think it is. There's always a catch. There's always something to it. I'm just saying he's in Florida right now. Again, he's the mayor of New York City. You just had a disastrous day yesterday, but he's in Florida. But hey, this is how New York City goes. But for my case, I could tell you, he told people right in front of people, he's saying, Sal Greco, I'm going to starve him out. Starve out meaning he wants this case to go on probably till December 31st when him and the rest of these cronies will be gone. People will be taking long walks of short piers. And he wants you to starve. It's a city tactic, but it's different when he himself, out of his own mouth, is talking like this. And he wants to act like I don't exist.
Or did you know him personally, like on a personal level where he could
I did not know Eric Adams personally. Roger Stone knew him years ago. And recently,
Roger Stone's a connection here with.
Yeah, but Roger knew him and Roger saw him. The only thing I saw him from a distance because I was always at 350 J Street. He was the Brooklyn Borough president. And I was told by cops and other people, if I was smart, to stay away from him because he was always trying to bring people around him because obviously he had the Turkey operation, the China operation, and you didn't ever want to be around them. But I was told then as a cop, just keep going. Don't even say hello and goodbye at best. So I might have said hello from a distance. I never said, hey, how are you, Eric? And then his reputation follows him well. He has quite the reputation he left behind in the New York City Police Department. So the cops at that time, we'll call them the old timers who knew him or worked with him, have nothing flattering to say about the guy to this day. So that's as much as the extent of me with Eric Adams. And I just think that, I don't know, could we be in the same room together? Who knows? This guy has grudges and he acts like a child, you know? Him and his cronies makes things personal. It was never personal, but he made it personal.
Yeah, it sounds personal when he says to starve you out. Yeah, that's personal. I mean, it's very hard to get more personal. I mean, there are scenarios, but it definitely ranks very high on the personal level totem pole with the starve you out.
And that's why I think with your case, he's in charge of the city. Sometimes he says the law department, the lawyers told me, he actually fired his corporation counsel. He tells them what to do. It's whatever he chooses. 1 minute it's this, 1 minute is that. He's on both sides of every issue. So the city's going to stall because that's the usual tactic, but it's an extra layer on top with this guy. He's still fighting people that were mandated to come to work, which he illegally terminated using that the mandates. That mandate, and that's a whole nother story. He's costing the city more money through litigation than actually settling up and rehiring his people that would make, fill in the gaps with personnel. He's short. He's short because he won't hire civilians. That's the real issue. So you fall in line with that. You fall in line with exactly what's going on. And the medical discrimination, which is rampant in city agencies, rampant.
Yeah, Sal. The thing that keeps me like all happy right now, not happy, but that gives me juice and makes my blood flow is just thinking eventually the judges are going to get tired of delaying. In my particular case, and when I see the department or city official having to take the stand under oath, having to explain under oath why I was let go, I can't wait. The day will come.
I would love to find out. As I say, in the state, because you're in the state court, so it's a little more. I don't know if there's more leeway, but I know that eventually, when it comes to burden of proof, it's a lot shorter per se in New York and state court. So I think your burden of proof won't be too hard to prove in order to prove guilt. And I just think they want to, in my opinion, what they're doing here is they're just holding up the inevitable,
right?
Because they don't want to be wrong. They don't like to be wrong. I mean, you have Molina in this lawsuit, Mr. I run around and do country trips to other countries for looking for long rifles that won't be used in corrections. That guy, Luis Molina.
Yeah. So, Sal, let me explain to you and the audience on how they are legally supposed to medically separate people who have line of duties.
Yeah.
So what they're supposed to do is give you 1 year and keep you home for a year at pay, a year window.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, they could say you're not fit for duty and medically terminate you because you didn't come in and at least minimum provide some sort of service. That doesn't fit with me. Then that would be justifiable. They could also give you option number 2 and just say, hey, Gojcaj, you're so injured, we're just going to give you a 3/4 right now. That's an option as well, which was not exercised by them. But instead, in my particular scenario, they say you're going to heal. We're going to accommodate you, give you a light duty position, a desk duty position, and then fire me from there because I'm on probation.
That's I feel terrible for you. It's exactly what they did.
Right. That's exactly what they did.
Somebody's brainstorm was to do that, actually.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So if they wanted to nail me, they could have just done that. If they had any brains, which clearly they don't.
No.
So whoever it is, and by the way, my lawsuit is one of my HMD doctor, the guy that I told you, the corrections doctor on Junction Boulevard that I reported to every month. He's part of, because this can't happen. The medical separation thing can't happen without his signature on it. So he too will have to take the stand under oath. Doc, hope you come up with your facts because I have mine.
This is wild. I feel sorry for you but it's like I've seen a repeated pattern with people. I mean, you're disabled and that you weren't able to work, and then they purposely drag that out to put you in those positions that then terminate you under that, oh, he's medically incapable nonsense. But they didn't do anything for you while you were hurt. They actually caused you to get hurt, to be honest.
Yes.
And and this is all on film, and they're sitting here and they purposely dragging their feet all over the place, whether it was when you were working and now in the court, they're dragging their feet on purpose.
I didn't even think about it at that angle. You're right. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
That's what they're doing.
They're dragging.
They're dragging their feet 2 times. They did it while you were at work on purpose, and then they're doing it again in the court system. So what are you doing now since, clearly you're terminating, you were terminated under false pretenses. So what are you doing? I mean, here you are with Curtis.
Yeah, I just met him a couple weeks ago at the police funeral. The kid that just got shot, the cop that got killed off duty when he was doing his second job.
Yeah. That was a horrible incident yet again.
Awful. Yeah, I met him. So when was the funeral? Like 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, a few weeks, maybe a month ago or 3 weeks ago.
Somewhere, yeah. So I went to pay my respects to the fallen officer, and he was right there next to me. And I say, oh snap, Sleeper. That's the second time I met him, just totally random.
That's a good thing. You think you want to try your hand in anything political or get involved, or
for me?
You just wanna see this whole process through.
Yeah, I'm going to keep my options open. I want to see this process through, like you said, to use your expression. I had visions of moving up in rank.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? I wasn't just going to be a regular officer. I wanted to be a captain, an ADW, a warden. I even had a very delusional ambition of having a building named after me. Call it the Nick Gojcaj Detention Center.
You're ambitious,
Yeah, that's what. That I had visions of that, and to go out there and get terminated. It's one thing if there was like I used excessive force, or if I came in drunk, or I beat up my girlfriend.
You're not like that. You didn't do anything like that. No.
Right. No, I'm just saying. Then I could say, you know what? I understand their theory of like, okay, fire him because he's on probation, but there's nothing there. They had 3.5 years, Sal, to quote unquote. If they want to get me, to discipline me, and there's nothing there.
Yeah, they had to find something because somebody there decided that, look, we need to get rid of him because we need to get rid of him. Like somebody made that decision. So it doesn't really, you don't fit the mold of someone they want to keep around. They like people that are corruptible because they can control corruptible people. And you don't follow the in crowd. You definitely weren't hanging out with these people wherever they hang out.
I mean, I had friends that I hung out with, but they weren't in the nepotism circle. That I didn't have those friends. I had people that were like regular officers like myself.
Yeah, well, you weren't hanging out in the Bronx up there. That's what I'm saying. You didn't go pay homage to the to the Consofrito crew. When you do that, everything is, because trust me, Molina was up there. So is Miranda. All these clowns that hang out together. So if you were in that circle, you would have been bulletproof. You keep your job no matter what you do. It's whoever's in that crew gets taken care of, either Crumbs or Consofrito. Which, by the way, Tim Pearson and them, they were in that Crumbs crew with Banks, and it falls on the corrections because they were telling corrections what to do also. Because technically, as a deputy mayor of public safety, you have a say in Eric administration with corrections, and Timmy Pearson definitely had a say because if you remember, Serena Townsend was there, and it was Timmy that approached her instead of the commissioner and all of that. So it's just the administration is run kind of like, wait a minute, civilians telling, but it is a civilian tells the commissioner what to do, or there's a liaison, or somehow they're involved in discipline and termination. So I think you're going to find out a lot more if you get to this discovery point than you thought. in regards to how you were handled and who exactly made that decision.
Yeah. John, I was about to reference him as my lawyer, which he is, but yeah, John explained to me the process. He said, Nick, give me 5 years, is what he told me, because with all the nonsense and the delay tactics, and they're gonna deny. Oh, Sal, I actually had paperwork when I applied for my 3/4 with this, that the department with the letterhead, which, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, for the non-law enforcement people, I will bring this to the trial. Department letterhead saying we have no records at all of any incident happened with Nick Gojcaj on April 27, 2021. Shows you how honest they are.
So then why they terminate you? They say
Why
nothing happened. It's on camera.
Right. So exactly. So why
Who
they
paid
pay
for
for
those
surgeries? Why am I
who
still
paid for those-
constantly working? Huh?
Who paid for the operations? They just
Right.
pay for it because they're being nice. Come on.
Yeah, that's because I'm so handsome that the department just approves everything, right? Yeah, okay. Well, they'll have to answer to that in front of a jury, and they're going to lose credibility on that as well. I don't care. I'll share the evidence with them because they're not getting out of it.
Yeah, this is quite a story.
Well, the thing is, they essentially what they want is I had what would be a preferred position, although I was injured, because they want to put their friends who are not injured to go out there and answer phones. They don't want them going out there dealing with the drug addicts or the mental health issues or the gangs or the rapists. No, you're beneath that. You're my boy. You don't go there. You sign up for this job. I promise you're going to get this desk job.
But you're there because of their negligence and incompetence to begin with. You should have never been hurt, because it doesn't take 30 plus minutes to go render aid to one of your, basically in the NYPD, we call it like a 1085 or a 1013, as you know. When you hear that, the cavalry's coming. The cavalry never came for you. So,
Right.
You're fighting multiple people by yourself. You're on camera. Nobody noticed the camera. I guess they must be asleep. And you're left defending yourself, and you're left with these injuries. So you're not there because you want to be there. You're there because of their incompetence, their gross negligence on top of it. And then they want to act like they're going to ignore you like a leper and say, well, you know what? We just got to get rid of him now because he's a nuisance to us. We can't put our cronies here.
Right.
And that's what they did.
That's what they did. This thing has so many layers to it, Sal. It's unbelievable. There was a captain and a bubble officer. So what they have, the way that housing area that I was in that day was called Quad Upper 4. You have, so there's upper 2 and 4.
Hmm.
So there's a person in the bubble who watches. The left side, the Quad Upper 2 and 4. So it's almost like a extra set of eyes.
Yeah.
He's there with the captain. He's soft. I've never met him before or after. Neither did I meet the captain before or after this. They're out there watching the incident the whole time with their arms on the bars. That's on camera, Sal. I swear to the Bible. That's on camera. This is avoidable, this whole thing.
No, it's a story of gross negligence and incompetence. Yeah. And there's many of these stories. And I guess the moral of the story is hopefully here, Nick, is that you give a voice and you give courage to others that this has happened to them or it's transpiring as we speak. Because what the institution does very well now is to protect their own. They strike fear amongst their own. Oh, don't say that because you're going to end up over there, or they're going to put you on this bad post if you do. But if you don't speak up, nobody knows anything, and they remain in control. They're afraid of a little podcast like this, right? That's what they like to call themselves. Oh, that's a small podcast. Finest and Filtered small podcast. There's nothing small about this because it's people like you to come on, and people hear this and get infuriated. So they want to control the narrative. That's the name of the game. It's perception management, as Marlon Bethel best acclimated them with this coined phrase, because they want to control the narrative so that people like you and other victims don't come out, because they also get off on this stuff. Because when you're in power, it's nice to play God when you're not.
When there's no consequences either.
Yeah. And the job, and by the way, Rikers is in the worst condition it's ever been because of incompetence. So on top of it, this was not even 30 years ago. I remember when Bernie Carrick was the commissioner there, and Bernie Carrick flipped it back to being good. Right? He changed the way they had a hallway named after him. He left, and then it went back to being mismanaged again. And here just shows you in that article, it's on the screen, about Rikers detainee becomes third person to die in New York City custody in a week, right? They had all kinds of issues there. But you're the guy they're going to pick on. We need to terminate you, Nick.
Right.
That's the answer.
Right. And Sal, to go off on to just add on to what you said, as far as people not fighting back because they don't know their rights. First of all, our union dues were something like just under $100 a month. So was that? I think it was like $97 a month. So there's a false impression that you're getting like some kind of top-notch attorneys out there representing you. And I would always tell the officers, wake the fuck up. What do you think you're getting for $100 a month? You're also getting your dental and your either the vision and hearing or dental and hearing. You know, two things with the lawyer. What do you think you're getting? You're getting a bootleg lawyer. You have to, if you want to fight them, you have to go outside with the union supplies, because they're only going to send the top lawyers. Back then, when I was there, it was Joey Jackson was the law firm that default represented us. But they won't send like their top lawyers to go out there and fight every single battle. No, you got to fight it for yourself.
Yeah.
And then when I met John, he told me, he said, Nick, they do this all the time to people. So I said, why do they continue doing it? Exactly what you said. John told me that people are afraid to fight. They get intimidated.
Correct.
Because if there's enough people like myself that are going to go out there and fight, listen, I don't want to put anybody in jail. I just want what's rightfully mine. My career was robbed of me. And I'm infuriated. Excuse me?
And your name. You've been defamed. You've been destroyed because of this administration. They think that they could just walk all over people.
And I would rather die than just give up. So what do I do now? I go on podcasts, just spreading the word to people to say, hey, you have rights. Don't let them walk over you like that. It's one thing if you screw up. You know, like I say, somebody had reached out to me recently, and he's like, yeah, I was on probation. I got fired. I said, so why'd they fire you for? You know, he's trying to be very deceptive. Just the way he was answering, I knew that there was a lot of things immediately. Like I felt like I would have fired him right there. And he's like, oh, I had an attendance problem. I said, so you're on probation. There you go. There's your answer. You know, for 2 years, you better be on your best behavior. And he says, to top it off, he tells me, oh, also there was a slashing on my post because the cell doors were open. And he's like, Nick, you know, the cell doors don't work. I said, yeah, but there was a slashing on your post, and you're supposed to put that in your security inspection at the start of the tour, saying the cell doors don't work. So this way you're covered by default. I said, you didn't do that. How are you going to go to court and explain this and say that you're wrongfully terminated? I said, dude, you definitely got fired for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Just on sheer stupidity.
You gotta dot your I's and cross your T's. And yeah, you have to have eyes in the back of your head. Sometimes the guy you work with next to you could be your worst enemy. Other times it's who's in charge. And I mean executive staff. It's really, it's like the wild, wild west at times. It could be, you know, you get a front row seat to the greatest show on earth when you're in New York City Police Department, but it comes at a cost. You know, your life will be very entertaining, very lively, but at the same time comes with a heavy price. And, you know, someone like me could tell you I paid a heavy price for things that I didn't even do, and they don't care. So, like, you didn't get in trouble for anything. You didn't get in trouble for any internal discipline. You didn't break any protocols. You didn't do anything on a guideline. So as far as the Department of Correction goes, you should be in perfect standing. You are a modeled officer, but, oh, well, you got hurt, so we discarded you.
Questions.
And you don't, you asked too many questions. And because you asked, where were we, or what happened, or why do I have multiple limbs I'm being operated on, this is what they did to you. And you're holding up a spot for my crony.
Those are the two big factors, exactly what you just said at the end. But, you know, and by the way, for everybody that's listening to this, every answer I just said here, the way I responded today, I'm willing to answer the same exact way under oath. Hopefully, the people out there who are behind the scenes that with these illegal terminations have the same courage of their convictions to go out there and answer like I did. I got this funny feeling that all of a sudden they're gonna, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, well, I was misinformed. Oh, I didn't read that part. Those are the answers that you're gonna hear.
Most of the time, yeah. So
Yeah.
Jamel from New York said, I used to carry a book and document everything that happens during a workday and what was said by superiors. I would actually do that right now if I was working. You should. Everyone, do not trust these people. You could tell that they're completely incompetent, and the city will always try to take advantage of you. They'll never do the right thing by you. Just so you know, you could tell that they just always dot your I's and cross your T's. Stephen S. says the incompetent, corrupt, don't like being asked questions. Then they perceive you as a threat, and you become the problem, which is exactly what happened to you, Nick.
Yeah.
Essentially, that happened. So, I heard a lot. You said a lot here today. In closing, right? What would you like done, and what's in your future? What really is in your future? You want to be an advocate? Do you want to start your own show? Maybe you want to get into politics. Who knows? Because you have to do something about this, because people need to hear your story, know about you, and maybe you could start something where there's going to be other people behind you that have the same thing, if not worse, happen, and we don't even know about. And you're the guy giving them a chance and a voice.
Correct. I like, as I mentioned earlier, I go on podcasts. More specifically, I went on Soft White Underbelly. He's got a huge platform.
Yeah.
And I told my story, and I would say roughly in the neighborhood of 100 people reached out to me with similar type stories. But there are statute of limitations. I'm not a lawyer. You know what I'm saying? I could, sometimes people just need a little more clarity on what happened, and maybe they could relate. And I do have ambitions of being an advocate on this for others, because it's so wrong, Sal. It is just wrong.
I agree.
It's wrong. Yeah, you can't do this to people that get hurt. You hired me to come in and do the job. I do the job, and then you fire me for getting hurt and doing the job and getting hurt because of your incompetence.
Yeah, it's like infuriating. My blood boils just hearing this. And I know people in here. Lone Silence says, I trust the 3-card Monty dealer before I trust higher ups these days.
That's a good one.
Hunter, this is hysterical. Is Nick a Turk? Adams can help him. It's Eric Adams likes turkey.
Oh no, I'm Albanian.
Yeah, no, he's not Turkish. If you were Turkish, you might get help. Maybe if you had potato chip bags with money in them, you might get somewhere.
It doesn't matter. You know what? I have faith. I have faith in honest New Yorkers. So whenever I do go on trial, and by the way, Sal, I'm not accepting any settlement offers. I know that somebody had earlier mentioned that about the city won't allow people to go take the stand in my particular case. Well, I'm not accepting any settlements, so they're gonna have to put somebody there. I mean, if they just want to just not show up and just hear my version, all right, I'll take that too. It's no problem. That's an easy win then. But I'm not accepting any settlements. We're going to trial all the way. It's all or nothing.
You're willing to stand by your convictions, and I think you were unjustly terminated for sure. I don't know where the city goes. I don't know how far. I don't know how long. Because they're going to drag their feet still. That's the problem. But I hope you get to discovery, where then that's when the rubber meets the road. And that's where John does a lot of damage. So that's where, because when he gets his hand, you've seen lately, he's had his hands on some discovery, and it's very harmful for the city in certain other cases. So I think you're in good enough hands. I think good is an understatement. You're in excellent hands in regards to this. I just hope that this resolves itself sooner rather than later, because I know what they're gonna purposely do to you. Because
listen, I sleep well at night knowing that I have John Scola as my attorney. I speak with this kind of, I guess you want to say, borderline cockiness about how this is going to turn out because of John. I spoke to several lawyers, and I said, you know what, forget these guys. I don't want to mention their names. Like, forget this guy. I don't want this guy representing me. I don't want her representing me. I met John. It was almost like we were married right there on the spot. The way he spoke and the way he explained to me exactly what they're supposed to do. And he said, he's looking at me, Nick, did they do this? I said, no, John, they did the exact opposite. And then I told him the story, basically what I told everybody here. And he's like, they can't do that. He says, no, please let me represent you. And he says, no, listen, this is what I do. And he started explaining to me the exact process of what they're supposed to do when they want to medically separate someone. And by the way, let's say if there was 10 steps and maybe they messed up one. No, they didn't follow any steps. Like, this is not even close.
Yeah, I think no.
So I told him, John, you're my lawyer. I love you to death. I'm supremely confident in his abilities and what he says. I have zero doubts.
When you speak to him, hopefully later today, to ask him about the unlicensed psychologist, tell him Sal Greco said you are highly requested to come back on the show. We need him back on it because there's people that keep asking me when you're going to have John back on. Because as you know, John is he's got a variety of cases, and there's some cases he didn't get to last time that now are heating up. So he's got a variety of things to talk about, and everyone wants to hear about it. Just let him know that, because every day when you read his story, you got to look and that's one of Scola's case, huh?
Oh yeah,
boy.
I love his brashness. You know what it is, ladies and gentlemen out there who are listening to this? He's a pit bull. So imagine if, like, let's say, for the hip hoppers out there, like the DMX videos with the pit bulls that just look like they're just ready to attack and break the leash. That's him as an attorney. That's John Scola as an attorney.
Yep.
He is in attack mode. He takes no crap, and he can't wait to put you on the stand and you have to answer his questions on the oath.
I tell you this,
you're gonna have a very bad day.
I gotta be honest. For years, I used to hear some things had they didn't know John. They would tell me all these things about him, and I'd be like, "Oh, really? Is he like that?" But when I finally spoke to John, he won me over. Like that's my paisan. I'm like, I like John. Some people don't. Some people have things to say. I say I stand by his work. His work is excellent, and he's gonna do what he has to do to win your case. That's the bottom line. But he's a really good guy.
That's why you hire him. You don't have to hang out with him and have go out to eat and drink beers with him. No. You hired him to win the case, and that's what he's there for me, and he will do that. And
I like what he's doing. He's got some very high-profile cases right now that'll just completely destroy Eric Adams' administration with certain people. So it's just imperative. A lot of people keep telling me you got to get Scola back on. So just let him know. I mean, I text him anyway and tell him, but he knows. But he's busy. That's what I'm saying. So when he does come back on, I'm sure he's going to have a slew of things because he's working on things behind the scene. But I think you're in, not only good hands, excellent hands. I think whenever this goes, whenever the city decides, they're going to have a lot of hell to pay here because you're the poster child of, you got sick, you got hurt, and we got to get rid of you for that. That's basically what they did because you're holding us up. That's what they did to you. And they also neglected you at the start. When you had your incident, nobody was there to help you, but they help each other when they're standing next to each other, the executives. And you were probably in the hands of an unlicensed psychologist when you applied to the NYPD. On top of everything else, that's the cherry on top.
Well, we're going to explore this. I'm going to talk to John, and like I said, we're going to explore this because I know he's looking into the NYPD ones.
It's getting worse. It's getting worse by the day. Here's a psychologist. Is he unlicensed? I mean, really, you got to really look. I mean, the cherry on top of this all is that you were more than likely talking to an unlicensed psychologist. I don't know what else. I mean, it's like you've hit every check mark. You need to check on the boxes, but you check them all off. So, Nick, it's been a great time with you. Where can people follow you or check you out for anything in the future with you?
First of all, you guys can check me out on Soft White Underbelly. Just go to Rikers Island, Nick. I'll come up there. That'll go into more details of the exact incident on how I got hurt. And it goes into a little more details of what we talked about today. You guys can reach out to me at Nick Gojcaj, Nick, G like George, O like Orange, J like Jack, C like Charlie, A like Apple, J like Jack on Instagram or Facebook. You can follow me. I'll follow you back. DM me. I will respond. I do respond to everybody. Believe me, there's not one person that could say that I don't respond back to. And maybe we could share stories, and maybe there's something there that I can enlighten you on my particular journey. There's a lot of people that also reach out to me that are applying for the job, and they get a little scared because it's like, oh, look what happened to me. Can that happen to them? I said very easily. I don't want to discourage you, but I also want to let you know that about the landmines that you are gonna have to deal with.
No, they do. I suggest you open up an X account too, because it's important to be on X, because a lot of we'll say a lot of the thoughts and things like that come out on X. The thoughts of people, breaking news. So I think you should be on there just so you have more exposure, and you could post things about things that happen. Like Serena Townsend does it all the time. Correction stuff. Boom, there she is, and she was a commissioner there. And she has a lot to say about how that place is being run. Just
listen to her interview. You've had her on several times.
Yeah, she's
people would badmouth her on the job,
yeah,
right? No, but mind you, I never met her, or I never dealt with her. Thank God, because that means if I met her at that time, that could only be for bad reasons. And people, and I would say that if she's so bad, I mean, if she's accusing you of doing this and you got discipline for it, you freaking did it. Because if not, take it to oath. And take it from there. But like you said earlier, people get intimidated.
That's the key. Serena, though, is an excellent attorney. So people, they can say what they want, but she's actually really good at what she does. But she has a lot to say about how corrections is run, especially from the very top. So she's now become one with you and everyone else. Anyone who's been a victim, all those people that hated her should actually flip and say, she's a voice for us now. But
look, yeah, imagine that. They would basically would have spit on her if they could. when she was I forget the title that she has. She's like in charge of discipline over there.
She's a deputy commissioner of like internal affairs, I guess, for corrections, kind of. I guess that's the best way to describe it. Because she was the advocate. She would be putting on the cases for the department. But some people really did do something wrong. It's not like everything is like it's people that really do things that are like, what? But for now, she's really out there advocating for everyone on the correction. So I think people should pay attention to her. Before you go, Nick, what's your favorite pizzeria in New York City?
Believe it or not, you're a Brooklyn guy, I'm a Bronx guy. Crispy Pizza has been coming up on my feed so much. Crispy Pizza, I think it's in Bensonhurst or something, 13th Avenue, 14th Avenue.
Yeah.
A lot of times I go to places that they don't really live up to the way it appears on social media. Crispy Pizza in Brooklyn lived up to the hype, lived up to the billing. So I would say Crispy Pizza and Danny's Pizza in Queens, on Lefferts Boulevard.
I've definitely Crispy Pizza. If you do go there, Freddie Palazzolo, the whole family, I know them well. Freddie's a great guy. I mean, he's beyond great. I used to, full disclosure, I was in a food business. I used to bring him, I was his food purveyor. So I was working with a company, but I knew him before that because my father knew his father, and it goes back.
Oh, wow.
Sicilian. So Pete, his father, knew my father. His brother Santo used to come to my house and deliver the pizza and stay 1 hour with my dad, and then he would go back to the pizzeria and he'd be like, "What happened?" And he told him, I was with my father Joe,
right?
His brother Vinny, his other brother Vinny too. It's like they have like a bunch of stores, but as far as Sicilians go, that's the best Sicilian in Dyker Heights,
right?
By far.
I wanted before I get off, I wanted to give a shout out to my buddy.
Go ahead,
Michael Dowd. As you know,
Michael Dowd.
I'm personal friends with him, and he's the one who lit the fire on me about doing this podcasting stuff and exposing, telling my side of the story and making it public. So shout out, brother. I appreciate you. I actually went on a podcast with him. He introduced me to it last year, and it's sort of like a flame that's been just burning stronger all the time. And again, I want to thank Mike for even introducing me or putting the idea there for me.
Hey, I know a lot about him. I don't know if he would actually come on this network and how that would go. Because I mean, look, we've had.
You want me to set it up? He'll come.
I tell you what, I had Pat Gordon on. People had a lot of things to say about him. We've had Corey Pegues on. So
Right.
Michael Dowd would join that list of people. Just to someone,
There he is, my boy.
You have a lot of I'd say like highly charged people, but people be charged up for this one because there's people that like him. You have a lot of people that are detractors, especially in the police department, people that knew him from the past. So that would be something else. But if he is,
I'll tell you what,
if he is helping you.
Yeah, no, I mean, he lit the fire on this thing and doing the podcast because he's a famous podcaster. He goes on shows all the time.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
And there are detractors, but a lot of them are talking smack, because we'll go to a bar. I live in the North Bronx, right? So there's this bar called Rory Dolan's on McLean Avenue. Are you familiar with it? There's a lot of cops there.
Yeah, I know the area. Yeah.
All right, so it's a very popular bar in the Westchester area because it's right there. So every time he comes over, we always end up there, and at Rory Dolan's, and of course, lo and behold, he gets spotted every single time. And yeah, is he known for being a dirty cop? Yes, but do people love him? The answer is absolutely. They're all in awe of him, and once you get to hang out with him, to speak to him for a couple minutes, yeah, he screwed up. He did his time, but he's still a good guy.
I'd say this. To have him on would be like, so we have the most corrupt cop in the NYPD talking about the most corrupt administration ever to run the NYPD. That would be something because I think
he'd love to do this.
Yeah, because in his heyday, right? He did a lot, a lot of stuff happened underneath him. Could you compare that on the wall with what you see today, though? Today, with what they're doing in NYPD, that would be quite a conversation because here's a guy that came from that kind of stuff, and then we have something that quite possibly could be a lot bigger and have more things involved than even he was involved in, because he was involved in what he did, and then we have the clowns that you see now doing all kinds. I mean, they're handing out envelopes in potato chip bags. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's a lot worse, but like that's just the latest thing that happened in the last few weeks. So that would be interesting. That's an interesting pick. Interesting.
What's the difference between him and them? Well, he didn't hurt anybody. The doubt he didn't hurt. Well, he was paid by kingpins, whatever it was per week to just be a lookout. You mean to tell me?
Well, they'll argue that there was an officer that got killed in a 7.5, and it was
that's not because of him.
No, but that's the argument with cops.
Yeah, I get it.
That's what they're gonna say. I'm just telling you the feedback from the police department.
I'm sure he's heard it plenty of times. He doesn't have virgin ears. I'm sure there's plenty of people that try to pin it on him. Right.
I would say though, to have Michael Dowd's perspective, and I get to talk to him about his time versus today, with what he's seeing today, because it's like what he was doing on steroids right now with the guys working right now in NYPD.
I'll link you guys up.
I think that would be interesting.
There is zero doubt in my mind that he'll come on.
Yeah, I would think that it'd probably be controversial, but I think
Sign me up. I'll have my bag of potato chips right here and a soda. Just listening. Absolutely.
I would love to say it. I mean, in my eyes, whatever you think of Michael Dowd, I see Eric Adams times 10. As a mayor, as a cop, as anything. This guy has done so much stuff, and we're supposed to not say a word about it. It's really mind-numbing to think. But we'll be in touch. Let's see if we can make that happen. But absolutely. Nick, great having you on. Thanks for telling us your story and keep me updated with everything. And like I said, tell people once again before you leave where they can find you.
So you can find me on Facebook or Instagram, Nick Gojcaj, NickGojcaj. DM me if you guys have any questions or stuff that I might not have articulated too well. Sometimes I do babble and jump from subject to subject. But if you DM me, I will respond, I promise, in less than 12 hours at worst.
That's great. And there he is. So just so people know, there he is on Instagram. You can't miss him. He's got the great Curtis Sliwa right there.
Here's my boy Jada Kiss, Sliwa, Judy Torres, Cynthia for the freestyle artists, for the freestyle fans.
I think Curtis Sliwa should be pinned though for you. Say, wait, and wear the beret and say vote for Curse.
You got it. I'll do that. I'll do that.
Thanks a lot, Nick, and God bless, and have a great rest of your
You too.
day.
Salute. Thank you again for having me on, and good luck with your situation as well.
Oh, thank you, Nick. We'll fight together. We'll be fighting that one together, right? I see here Rob Lukash, co-host of the Executive Perspective, said Michael Dowd served this time would be an interesting interview. I might have to make this happen. Michael Dowd, I've always wondered what his opinion is on what's going on. He's the most corrupt cop. Well, I don't know. I don't know about that one anymore, to be honest, because you got so much going on with Eric Adams. But before I have Jack come on, I want to put this up. This is from Eric Sanders. This is the latest. This is another thing you guys need to look up to. This is a new case. Cleared to go home, but held anyway. September 1st, which is yesterday, filed a federal civil rights lawsuit on behalf of Jason Lawrence Butler, a black retired NYPD officer, and JPB, his 16-year-old daughter with Williams syndrome, alleging New York Presbyterian Hospital, Will Cornell Medical Center, NYP WCMC detained her for 36 hours after psychiatry cleared her and the NYC Administration for Children's Service, ACS, authorized discharge. We allege a de facto social hold, extra procedural hurdles, repeated re-interviews to manufacture safety, objections, restricted access for the mother, and exclusion of the father, alongside racially charged assumption about a gun in the home, despite his lawful status as a retired licensed officer. Hospitals don't get to overrule ACS. Once a child is medically and psychiatrically cleared and ACS authorized release, there is no lawful basis, absent a court order or true exigency, to keep a family apart. This case asked the court to say so clearly. Case Butler versus New York Presbyterian Hospital, Will Cornell Medical Center, and states that's in the Southern District of New York. Claims 504 of the Rehabilitation Act, Title 6, 42 U.S. Code, 1981 and 1983, familial association, Fourth Amendment seizure and substantive due process, NYCHRL, NYCHRL public accommodations, discrimination, and state torts, including false imprisonment, negligence, negligent infliction of emotional distress. What we're seeking, damages and reforms and social holds, require clear discharge policies once ACS authorized release, train ED, psychiatry, social work, security on 504 Title 6, and constitutional limits, monitor compliance and prevent bias-driven delays, and ensure equal access for families of color and families affected by disability. Allegations are as pleaded. Defendants will have an opportunity to respond. And he also has a press release with the complaint. So isn't that interesting? The ACS part, I remember this as a cop. And there's, like I said, it's another city agency that needs a spring cleaning. What could I say? So now let's have Jack Stern, producer's take.
So before we go any further, I can't help but unsee the comparison between John Scola and Tom Cruise playing Jerry Maguire in the famous movie about the sports agent from years ago, loosely based on Lee Steinberg, of course. And that movie was about sports, and he does handle more city government type cases. But the two guys are very similar. They have this just like energy and infectious enthusiasm, and it's us versus the world, and we're going to go kick their ass and have fun doing it. Like, they're such similar guys that there's a parallel line that you can draw between the two of them, right? I'm not just seeing things here.
Now, he also, and John's got a lot of energy. Anytime I talk to him, he loves doing this because it's everyone has the same idea. Break the system. The system is broken. We want to shatter this thing and reset it the way it should be. Nick should not be terminated for this stuff.
No,
I shouldn't be terminated. John shouldn't have to leave the job because they were looking to fire him because he didn't want to go along with a stupid mandate that should never been in to begin with. Eric Dim should not be gone. Marlon Bethel shouldn't be terminated. The list could go on and on and on. Women should not be sexually harassed or assaulted by the mayor, who was a sergeant at the time, or his cronies now. This is something that people get passionate about because you want to change the system.
Also, Officer Gojcaj is the first person I think we've ever spoken to that actually wants to go back to Rikers Island and being a police officer. Most people are like, what can I do so they can pay me and I don't actually have to do any work anymore? I could just sit home and eat popcorn when my leg is broken. No, Gojcaj is like, I want to go back. I want to earn my paycheck. I want to take additional civil service tests to try and get promoted. So kudos to him for trying to do things the right way. It's very hard to find honest people in these city agencies where cronyism is almost encouraged. I was listening to him on Ian Bick's show talking about his interaction with the captain, and the captain said to him, like, you're the only guy who has not tried to bribe me so far out of everyone working here for a specific post. So the amount of pride that he takes and hopefully getting back to the department is very admirable in that sense as well.
Yeah, plus you had the king of low information Juju on, which I'm starting to believe is John Shell himself at a certain point. Is that really him, or he controls that account? Who knows? But it sounds a lot like him. And I could attest to that. Unfortunately, I had to work with him, so I could tell you I know exactly how he talks, what kind of sense of humor the guy has. To have him in here constantly is ridiculous. It's like, whatever. I mean, the guy late at night, Jack, the guy is messaging us on Instagram, John and Eric, commenting on stuff, and which led to a whole, you saw the role. And this is, you're acting like a child. You know, that's what I'm saying. You're an executive and you're a big kid.
So to address Lily's comment, we're not sure if Juju is John Shell or if it's someone associated with John Shell and Kaz Daughtry. My personal suspicion is that it's someone within the department that knows the two and is kind of carrying out orders. But he is speaking and typing and messaging very similar to the man himself. So there's reason to believe that perhaps they're involved. I'm pretty sure, though, last time I checked, the NYPD has a very strict social media policy saying that you're not supposed to use personal accounts to attack people. Maybe those rules don't apply for Shell. But it seems like apparently, anyway, that he smells the beginning of the end coming with Zoran Mamdani, Curtis Sliwa, or Andrew Cuomo possibly coming in and cleaning house. Eric Adams, I mean, he's down in Florida hanging out. He probably wants to challenge Byron Donalds to run for governor of Florida at this point, so he's not going to be retained. And as such, there's very small room for John Shell to potentially stay on with the new regime. He's not going to be taking a demotion as someone who's been with the department for over 3 decades as well. So it's likely that he's going to retire, take a deal with a conservative media outlet as a pundit, commentator, maybe a host, if anyone wants to give that guy his own show. He's not a very good public speaker, so I can't imagine him speaking extemporaneously for an hour, but maybe they want to employ a good voice coach. But the point of saying all this is that John Shell knows he's not going to be at One Police Plaza that much longer, and he's really going scorched earth in a way that he probably wouldn't do so had all of these events transpired a couple years ago. He's a company guy at heart, and he is good at following most of the rules when they benefit him. So he's kind of gone off on his own little path in terms of attacking other people over the past couple of months. It's been very interesting to see him preparing for that next chapter.
Yeah, Special Hagen said, better here than drunk passed out in the street like last week. R.E. Shell, allegedly. And Tom Joyce says, but you can still interview him, but be serious. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you something. Look, the reason I point to this is the most unprofessional the NYPD has ever been in probably its whole history. I mean, the way the people up top operate, meaning executives, unprofessional, a criminal behavior that costs taxpayers money. For me, I highlight it only because there's people that watch this from other areas of the world, not just this country. And if they see this, they got to be shaking their head or scratching their head going, what the hell's going? You don't want this model in your city. You don't want this in your organization. And the reason it gets highlighted is so it's kind of like the message for everyone is don't be like him. Don't do what these guys are doing. And we're trying to get this corrected through advocacy, through the exposing them, through the people we bring on that we talk to, because that's the only way things are going to change. Like having a discussion with Patrick Gordon, or I guess soon to have Michael Dowd. This is how you get things done. You get things changing by having a dialogue. Let's scream and yell at each other and point fingers, kind of what Shell and Daughtry live on. You're not going to accomplish much in life or in the police department, to be honest. Yeah, Special Agent says, I may not have been a big fan of cops when I was younger, but I always had respect for the department. With this administration, not so much. I've never seen anything like this. You're not the only one, Special. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. I hear this all the time. You hear this constantly on our network, each show, each host telling you the do's and don'ts. And I'm not saying it's all negative, Jack, because it's not. There's plenty of cops. Yesterday, almost went. I mean, Juve's a nightmare to deal with.
Yeah.
But the little parts that happened, right? But those people on the parade route, I know as I went to the 7-1, the 7-1 cops, they did a great job. Not John Shell, the 7-1 cops, the 6-7 cops. They did a great job. The shooting and stuff is because it shows the nonsense, because you have the least transparent administration in the history of New York City and the least transparent executive administration in the New York City Police Department. Because if I got to hear that soccer mom come out again and say crimes are historic lows, and Eric Adams say it's the lowest reported crime in the history of New York City, then they're just laughing at you. That's all they're doing. They're laughing at you, the taxpayers. And really, November is a really easy decision in my book if I'm a New York City voter, but it's really going to be up to New York City.
So in regards to Juve, I'm wondering what happens at that parade that's so much different than every other single parade that takes place in New York City, because there's a lot of different ethnicities, all of whom have major ceremonies at one point or another, right? There's an Irish parade for St. Patrick's Day. There's a Dominican heritage one. There's a Hispanic heritage one. But yet it seems like Juve is the only one to produce very violent results. Is it because the culture involved is very violent? I'm inclined to say no, because a lot of the other cultures could be labeled as violent as well. Is it being on Eastern Parkway, where a lot of the gangs involved in Juve happen to live? There has to be some more underlying reasons and causes behind everything that's taken place and the mayhem and mismanagement that seems to ensue year after year. Because I'm not going to say this is a Juve problem. This has to be a bigger issue at hand. Eric Sanders talked about some of the societal problems. He obviously hit the nail on the head with that evaluation. But also there's issues with the cultural aspect, with what Juve represents. Like, this is a much bigger problem. And no matter how many cops you send out on the street to try and defend against it, it always seems like violent erupts, and over very petty things too. I mean, I read a million articles about what took place yesterday. Sal, the things that people fought over were some of the stupidest, petty, childish, nonsensical things I've ever read about. One guy thought that someone was staring at his girlfriend's ass from all the way down the street, even though there was a photo that showed that he wasn't. And she was wearing very skimpy clothing, by the way, too. I mean, that's not an excuse to be sexually predatory, but still speaks to the fact that, like, there might have been a little bit of a misunderstanding, right, when he's kind of looking over. So there was fights over that. There was fights over money that had boiled over from months before. It's just the pettiest and nastiest stuff seems to come out on a day that's designed for celebration, and it's not supposed to be that way either.
Yeah, Jack, I forgot to play this. You have that video from Ray-Ban podcast just to show people what because this is what happened yesterday. Show this real quick for people.
Yeah, let me just give me a second. Just give me a second to pull it up here. But yeah, we're gonna show you guys kind of a video of some of the other craziness. This is from Ray-Ban podcast. So just kind of take a look at this.
Look at this. This is what happened yesterday.
Ray-Ban podcast. Ray-Ban podcast. Yeah, get on my way.
So I saw another video that was similar to that, and in the comments section, people are going to think this is crazy, but I'm going to try and find it too. I'll post it later. But people were speculating that someone was getting jumped by her cousin and her friends. Like,
I'm
her
going to tell you
cousin
this.
she had Thanksgiving dinner with.
I have a problem with this only for one reason. That is an assault that happened in front of you as a police officer. You can't just ignore that. At the very least, someone should be getting summons. Instead, they let everybody go because, there's too much going on. That's broken windows was designed to stop that. That's what you're supposed to stop. See this? Someone needs to be held accountable. You don't just, whether you like someone, you don't like them, you don't just, boom, you punch them in the face and walk away. And the cops are staring at you. And they just, all right, everybody go home in front of everyone. There's cameras. This guy recorded it. Technically, all these cops are now in danger of, you didn't do your job, right? Because what you're supposed to do, act like I didn't see that. They all saw that. It's basically an assault on camera. Look, if you're gonna at least poo-poo this, look, there's 3 people running in. Write a summons. Don't put yourself out there, and then these people come after you as a police officer. Because the very least thing you could do is do the summons. Do something. Don't act like this just happened. I don't know anything. Look, because they're all there. They all saw it. One of you, okay, you got to get a summons. You don't want to press charges, but I saw it. I mean, I'm pretty sure anyone, Ron or Rob, we talk about this tomorrow. How do you just not write a summons for that at the very least? I think it's an arrest because you watched it in front of you. You watch 3 people jump one other woman, and you're just going to ignore it. I understand the day is crazy, but it's one cop you're going to lose on an arrest of 3 people. Very simple. This used to happen all the time. I saw this happen in the 7-1 a lot, and we would arrest these people. And even Rob Lukash just chimed in and said, discon at a minimum. Why is this person not being summoned? They have no respect. Someone who does this in front of a police officer has no respect. You have no respect for the law. You have no respect for the police department because you know they're either not going to do anything or they're going to favor the criminal. That's how this mindset is. It's harassment arrest at best, too. I mean, you want to go that route, Anthony DiMaggio. How do you just stand there and, all right, everyone just go away?
Look at that frame. You wonder, though, is this the cops being neutered and told, hey, if someone's not killing another person, just kind of let it go? Or is this them just trying to damage control the situation, say, listen, the fight's over, let everyone go their separate ways and let the situation take care of itself? It's hard to see what the thought process is here, but either way, it gives people the impression that it's okay to do bad things on the street. It's okay to fight. It's okay to hurt someone. It's okay to walk around with a gun, polishing it off, as we've seen so many times in New York City, or guns falling out of people's pockets like it doesn't even matter. They've put it right back in their pocket right after it falls out. So this is the message that we're sending to the public. We're not going to police broken windows. And as such, you can just do whatever you want. New York City is going to be a free-for-all. It's going to smell like weed everywhere. There's going to be guns on the street. People are going to be fighting. It's going to look like a GTA movie. But hey, we want to hug the criminals. We don't want to arrest people. We want to reduce the population at Rikers Island. So we're doing our job. No, not so fast. You need to find a middle ground that's somewhere in between those two things. That really infuriates me, Jack, only because I was on that job. You have to understand, in a numbers situation, let's say you're inside the Juve, you don't do that. Because you realize that there's hundreds of thousands of them and only a couple of you as a cop. But in this situation, the cops outnumber the 4 or 5 people involved in that. Why you don't do anything? You need to set an example, only because that incident could happen on the next corner. That happens in the next corner. That happens on the next corner. There's cops everywhere. They're doing it in front of your face. I mean, Rob Lukash says engaging in fighting what's that word? I can't. Tumultuous.
What does it say? Tumultuous. Tumultuous. Okay. Yeah, I didn't see that because I don't know. My screen's tumultuous or threatening behavior. Engaging in fighting, tumultuous or threatening behavior. You cannot allow that. I know Rob is big. You can't do that. We had one last week. He discussed with Rob and Ron about the incident, whether it was a summons or not, or on the body camera. This is something that you absolutely cannot allow. This is the failures of society. Sorry. How do you not summons that person at the very least? If not, you're arresting people. They assaulted someone in front of you. You may not need her statement, right? If she doesn't want to press charges, but you're definitely going to write them a summons. You want to start assaulting people in front of me? Who am I if I'm a police officer? I'm standing there and you're punching someone repeatedly with you and your gang of buddies. And I'm just going to stand there and go, okay, all right, it's over, as this person's all bloodied and beat up. Because that tells me, other people watching you saying, oh, I know what I could do now. And it's only a matter of time before they just kill someone in front of you. What are you going to do about it as a cop?
And where is the respect for the police, too? Do you notice that this fight is happening like right in front of an ESU video? And remember the days when we were in high school and people would say, let's take this around the corner. Let's go down the street. Let's go to the park somewhere the police aren't. Nowadays, it's a big free-for-all. Like, let's have a WWE-style wrestling match right in front of the police so they can see and we can prove that they're not going to do anything, so we can just go do it again next week, next month, or even 5 minutes from now in another neighborhood just because we feel like it. Totally disgusting. And these types of videos that are circulating on social media send a message to all the criminals and non-law abiding citizens out there in the public that you can just do whatever you want. It's only going to get worse in New York City too.
Well, you wonder why they douse cops with water? There you go. That video will show you. There's no respect. Do that in my heyday when I was working. See what would have happened. Everybody would have been in handcuffs crying. Oh, you would have been crying. You would have been back in the 71st precinct cell. Me and Crown Heights. But this is the level of respect that you have. Anthony DiMaggio said cops are afraid to do their job these days. What we just saw is called the Ferguson effect. Yeah, but you say you're law and order mayor. John Shell pouts his triple neck out there saying it's the safest big city in New York City. Is it the safest big city in America? What are we doing? You going to allow that? That's the least of summonses at the very least. Why? Whether it gets thrown out or not, because of general principle. Other people are watching you. That is lawlessness in front of your very eyes. As a cop, you outnumber them too. There's 7, 8, 10, 20 of you around, and there's 5 of them. What are you worried about? Just start. I don't know. Maybe I come from a different school of thought, and I'm very lenient with things, and I'm not. But that is absolutely a no-go.
And you work for the police department too, right? You have a police department patch on your uniform shirt, so you're allowed to step in and intervene when things get out of hand. That's what you're supposed to be doing, not just breaking it up and telling everyone to go their separate ways. That's ridiculous. And the crowd control within the department over the past couple of months has been like embarrassingly awful, dating back to the days when the Knicks were going through their postseason run in April.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, there's fights everywhere. There's people getting trampled. There's screaming and mayhem, people jumping up on buildings, the whole 9 yards. And you wonder what's going on. Are they not doing a good job in training officers on crowd control? It's ridiculous.
No, Marlon says it's in Brooklyn. It's a reflection of problems in inner city black neighborhoods. He's on to something. It's clearly a pattern. And Rob Lukash is saying it. He's telling you, going back and forth in the comments, telling Hunter, totally agree. They should still get arrested and figure it out later. And Marlon says that it's no longer a parade and not organized. And Marlon
speaks from a point of a lot of reputability too, because he's from Grenada. He immigrated to New York City from another country, and he's very familiar with the Caribbean culture, having seen it as a private citizen, but also as a police officer. So I take his word at face value there.
But I just, as a police officer, I don't know how you let somebody get punched in your face and just sit there with your hands in your pockets. All right, go home. Yeah, don't worry about it. You just assaulted someone in front of me. It's okay. Special Hagen says it's not worth it for the cops on site. The perps may have connections. They'll probably get off. Meanwhile, the cops will be disciplined. That's true. That might happen, but you swore an oath. You can't just allow things like that to happen in front of you. It's really a spit. They're spitting in your face, and it's gonna get worse.
There was spit flying everywhere in that video.
You saw what happened? Guy just started shooting people, executed a cop a couple of weeks ago. Where do you think they get that idea from? They just assaulting people in front of cops. They don't care. So you know what? We don't care about you either. That's the message you're sending. You know, Marlon says those kids know nothing of living in the Caribbean. They use the parade as a day to wild out.
It's the next generation. They don't understand what Juve is even about. So they just pull out their smartphones. They see it as a day off from school because school doesn't start until after Labor Day. They do whatever the hell they want, and there's no consequences. That's the way their life is. They don't know anything else.
Yeah.
So that's why they're motivated to just go out and look at it as a free-for-all.
Yeah, I mean, I know we went a little long today, but that one I was saving because that is everything that I stood for in uniform and everything I did. That goes against it. That's a failure to do your own duty. I don't care what Juve. I don't care what's going on. One cop can take those arrests. You're not losing 10 of them. You could take up to 5 people, by the way. 5 bodies for one cop. Every cop can arrest a minimum of 5 people. You could at least, there's 2 people there I could take. What I don't know. This is why you have what you have. This was not what I was brought up in. Easily, those girls get arrested, whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not, you cannot allow that to happen. That's why New York City is in the position it's in right now. That's a reflection of who's in charge. I mean, it's just you can't let that happen. I'm sorry. Any real cop will tell you somebody's got to do something. Something meaning a summons at the bare minimum, but I would probably just arrest them because you assaulted someone in front of me. I don't know. It's on camera. Now it's viral. People could see it. And you know what you see? You know what you see now is the blatant disrespect for people. And Rob Lukash said that is exactly the ratio, 5 for 1 for SRG. It's 5 bodies for each cop. There's no excuse. That's all I'm going to say.
So when looking at that video, I would like to see how many of the cops have been on the job for 5 years or more versus how many have been on the job for 5 years or less. I would theorize that most of them are relatively inexperienced because the old age police that are still within the department are probably handling that situation a lot differently unless they're told otherwise. They're probably attacking things more aggressively, trying to get people on the ground. And you guys work for the police department. You're allowed to give lawful orders when mayhem ensues. So don't be hesitant in doing so. You need to control the situation much better because it spiraled out of hand real quick. You saw that one guy just put his hand in and the women are still screaming at each other. No, you need to separate everyone. You need to maybe arrest someone. You need to hand out a summons. And you need to make sure, most importantly, that they're deterred from doing these types of things and disturbing the public again, because you shouldn't have to tolerate this at a day that's designed for celebration.
Yeah, that's just very disheartening to me. Marlon said I explained why it's in Brooklyn, first of all, which makes it easy for the rats to come out. It's true. I don't know why it's in Brooklyn and not. It should be in New York City probably. But so, Jack, what's up on tap for the 10-4 Tavern? Because I know they're on tonight at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, we have a really exciting show coming up for the 10-4 Tavern. Tom Joyce and Peter Forcelli will be joined by Vernon G. Berth, a good friend of the Finest Unfiltered family, retired lieutenant commander, often referred to as the godfather of homicide. I'm sure he has a million different interesting stories to tell them. So be sure to tune in today at 7:05. I almost said 17:05 there. I guess that would be 19:05 in terms of military time. 7:05 Eastern time PM is when the show will be on the air. It's going to be a fantastic one. So be sure to tune in. And one final tidbit before we exit stage right for the day. The cops outside must be preparing for other parades because the Mets World Series run apparently is back on after a really decisive win at Comerica Park against the Detroit Tigers yesterday on Labor Day, a come-from-behind victory at that. The Mets are such a perplexing team, Sal, because they lose to bad teams, lost 3 of 4 to the Marlins at home at Citi Field. The Marlins are doing terribly this year, by the way, as well. And then they go to Comerica, play the toughest team in the American League, and find a way to pull out a scrappy victory against them. And they look destined to do so again tonight with Nolan McLean, the rookie phenom, pitching. The Mets are a very confusing team. They can be really bad. They can be really good. We've seen them be both within the context of one singular season. But if they face an opponent who they are capable of beating in the postseason, watch out. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say this. Juan Soto is worth every dollar he's being paid, and I'll tell you why. His NL ranks, meaning National League ranks, he's 8th in WAR, 5th in BWAR, 2nd in WRC, 2nd in OPS, 1st in offensive WAR, 4th in OPS, 2nd in offensive rating, 3rd in home runs, 4th in RBIs, 1st in walks, 2nd in runs, 6th in steals. That's why he's worth 150, whatever they paid him, 750. That's why. The guy's going to have better numbers this year without Aaron Judge and the Yankees, which proves that it's Soto is the machine that he is. It's unfortunate the Mets can't pitch. Can he get a starter that goes past 5 innings? That's all I'm asking.
Well, after the reboot that the rotation has had with McClain, Tong, and potentially Brandon Sproat coming up through the grapevine here as well, I think that the Mets, if they line those guys up 1, 2, and 3, kind of eliminate some of the starters who have struggled as of late, Sean Manaea, Clay Holmes, Kodai Senga, the rest of their rotation, effectively speaking, then all of a sudden that changes the dynamic of a potential playoff run. But in regards to Juan Soto, I don't think we've ever seen a season quite as odd. For most of the year, he was horrible with runners in scoring position, got off to that really slow start, which often happens when guys sign big contracts. So it's nothing weird in that regard. But at the end of the day, he's put up an incredible stat line. He's on pace for 40 home runs, 30 stolen bases, never had more than a handful of stolen bases in a season outside of this year. Wasn't really part of his game. Closing in on 100 RBIs at 90 right now, closing in on 100 runs scored, 100 walks, as Sal just mentioned. He's leading the lead in walks as well. That's become a larger part of his game too. And by all statistical indications, he's had a fantastic season. Yet everyone's saying when you're paid to be Juan Soto, when someone gives you $750 million with $50 million allocated on a year-by-year basis and a $70 million signing bonus, you need to be more clutch. Listen, batting averages are down league-wide, so the fact that he's hitting 250 as opposed to 270 isn't necessarily something that worries me, especially when he's been so good recently. And he's had a good year to the point where you're confident that he's going to have an MVP caliber campaign at some point in the next couple of seasons. So as Mets fans, you have to take the good with the bad, and be satisfied with a pretty good year one.
Yeah, I was on the show. I stated he was having a bad April. Oh, no. I says, trust me, he's going to have a career year. Latin players are known to start slow. April's cold, and then they get really hot as the weather warms up, and then boom. This guy is being who, he's worth every penny you're paying him. That's Juan Soto. And by the way, I disagree. The Marlins are not a bad team. They're up and coming. The whole team is not worth as much as Juan Soto's salary, but they're up-and-coming team, and they're going to be very good in the very, very, very near future. So, and I'll probably be there this weekend, by the way. So I think we covered enough. Check out Rob and Ron on Executive Perspective tomorrow. I don't know what their show topic will be about, but Rob is definitely in the comments today. Shout out to you, Robin. I'm sure that video might get some play on your show, what just happened in Crown Heights with that whole Juve experience. So maybe Rob and Ron could discuss their Juve and how they had to prepare things. Because, I mean, that was just, that was crazy what happened yesterday. But it's the Super Bowl of policing, right? And also tomorrow morning, check out The Finest Unfiltered with John and Eric. I think they're going to have on a former police officer who has quite a story to tell. So we'll definitely check them out in the morning. Rob Gojcaj just said, great show, Sal. Yes, we will be talking about that. I know Juve will be on your mind. And that video, I don't know if you want to touch up on that, but how do you just, all right, guys, everyone goes to each one. Yeah, that's not policing the way I know it. So, all right. So, guys, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for being in the comments. Thanks for those that sent out some espressos. to the podcast for me. I'll be back on Thursday. We'll see what we have on. But until then, yeah, Kevin Cruz left the NYPD. That's what's going to be on tomorrow with John and Eric. Kevin Cruz, he was a former police officer who left the New York City Police Department. So check that out. And don't forget, Executive Perspective tomorrow. You're going to be hearing about Juve. Tune in for that one tomorrow, 5:05 Eastern or 17:05 military time, and 8:05 in the morning with John and Eric. They're going to have Kevin Cruz on. And don't forget, 10-Foot Tavern tonight. And with that being said, I'm going to sign off. I hope everybody has a good rest of your day. I'm going to see you all on Thursday. And also, Owen Schroyer, my buddy, you keep your head up. He left InfoWars. It's a big thing online. Owen's my friend. I know Alex, but he left the show. So I'm going to say he's going to be on to better endeavors. We'll just put it like that. So until then, so I'm signing off here. I'll see you on Thursday at 1 o'clock. I'm leaving. We're signing off from South Florida, which, as you know, is a sunny place for shady people.
So this is a biblical moment. You know, when Jesus was on the cross, he said, God, forgive them, for they know not what they do. All these Negroes who are asking me to step down, God, forgive them. Are you stupid?